Patrick, we just finished watching your first time. I don't know. I've lost track how many times I watched it today.
Ballpark it.
Teaser, at least 6. The teaser trailer for James Gunn's Superman. I am wearing my Superman socks today to mark the occasion.
Yeah.
You were watching the trailer and you sounded like you immediately had thoughts, which we saved for on air for you people.
So the story of DC. I don't need to tell you the story of DC. You know the story.
We did a whole topic about the DCEU.
The story of DC is that they always jump the gun.
Sure.
That's the story of DC. They do too much too fast.
Sure.
And guess what? They're gonna do too much too fast. With this
Wow.
one.
Patrick's worried.
There's too many dude. How many characters do we see in that?
Well, we know for sure it's Superman,
The Hawk guy,
Hawk
Man,
Girl,
Hawk Girl. Sorry.
Guy Gardner, Green Lantern, Mr. Terrific, Metamorpho.
Too much.
Like, so those.
What is happening?
Those 4 heroes and Superman.
What is happening?
Plus
Why do they always
Lex
insist?
Luthor.
Why do they always insist to do too much? Just focus on
But,
Superman.
so hold on. So that's what else did you take away from this trailer before we get into it? Like, that didn't do it for you at all? What's happening?
It looks cool.
Mm-hmm.
We're in 2024, so if the effects
Mhm.
don't look good, then I don't know what you're doing. You got
Right.
a multi-million-dollar
Right.
budget. That should be a given.
Right.
The thing to note is the number of characters, in my opinion.
Sure.
That's what's of note. Is that correct?
Sure.
That's what's of note here. And that's why I want to bring it up and talk about it, because this
Right.
is what they do all the time. This is what they do every single time, and they always blow it. So what's going to be different this time, Maddie?
Here's the thing. I feel like this is a point you've brought up before we even saw anything about this movie, like when we just heard it and saw some of the set photos and stuff. And I feel like you and I have had this conversation before. You're not wrong in that with the DCEU before this, before, the new guard took over, it was like Man of Steel. And I was like, all right, like this is a relatively well-contained, like, it's its own thing for now sort of thing. And then it was like Batman versus Superman, Dawn of Justice. And it was like, okay, we're introducing like Batman into this and Lex Luthor. And then like the trailers and shit, and you start hearing about it and it's like, and Wonder Woman's coming. And it's like, okay, so we're jumping to the Trinity. Like that's, interesting. And then in Batman versus Superman, you get the like that moment when Wonder Woman sends all that shit to Batman, and it's like all of Lex Luthor's files, and it's like the Flash file, and it's that like clip of him in the convenience store, and the Aquaman file, and they just have a fucking clip of him underwater, and like the Cyborg file, and it's like him, bonding with the mother box or whatever and becoming Cyborg. And it was like, why are we rushing all of this so fast to then jump immediately to Justice League, where it's like we haven't introduced the Flash, we haven't introduced Aquaman, we haven't introduced Cyborg.
Yeah.
Batman didn't have a solo movie up to that point, but like, Batman, we got a Wonder Woman movie at least. Sorry, is
Forgive me for
something
looking at my
happening?
phone.
No,
Forgive
is
me for
something
looking at my-
happening? Do we need to pause this here?
Mark is coming up.
Well, we're here. Mark's here. Teleported. He teleported in editing. So anyways, Superman. What was I saying? Your concerns that it's too much too fast. Here's my thing.
Wait, pause, sorry. You
Sure.
showed me the trailer before we started recording.
Okay.
Which
Am
you had
I-
not seen yet.
And my initial thing was
A lot of characters.
a lot of characters.
There were a lot of villains in it, like multiple villains that I saw in there.
Wait, what villains did you see?
I saw like a bunch of people like fighting against Superman. There was like one guy with like some black dude with some suit,
Yeah.
and he was like some weird purple gravity thing around him or something. Like there was some guy who
the
was
guy
like
with the shield.
yeah,
the
something
shield.
like that.
Okay.
And then there was Lex Luthor, and then there was like some other evil looking guy.
There were a lot of heroes, is what I noted.
Oh,
I
maybe
didn't
that's what it
notice-
was. I didn't know what they were good or bad, but there was like a bunch of like
Yeah.
super characters.
Super characters, yeah. There was Green Lantern, Hawkman,
Was that maybe that? Okay.
Mr. Fantastic, according to him. I don't
Hawk
know who
Girl
that
and
is.
Mr. Terrific.
Sorry, Hawk Girl, not Hawkman. That's a joke. I feel like I shouldn't have put that into my bleep that.
Great.
Yeah. Anyways, go ahead. What are you gonna say?
So
Basically, what I asked him was, "How's it not going to be different?"
here's
Like,
my
They
thing.
have all these characters. This is what DC does. How's it not going to be different? Go, man.
Number one, I trust James Gunn wholeheartedly because I think he's earned
Yeah.
that trust.
1000%.
And well, I'll get to that I'll circle back to James Gunn in a second and we'll come full circle here. But here's my thing. In terms of like these other, I don't know if we really know if it's like, if they're Justice League members, these other people, or if it's like a Justice Society thing, like Black Adam fucking tried to do, or if it's like a Justice League International thing. The going theory for a while was that James Gunn's brother, Sean Gunn, is going to be in the movie as Maxwell Lord, who's like a, you know, bad guy usually or whatever. And some of the stuff they showed of Maxwell Lord has like a logo or whatever for his company or some shit, and that logo is on the Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, Mr. Terrific uniforms. So there's like some theories of like, are these heroes working for him and they like don't know that he's like a piece of shit or whatever? Like, is it more of like not an actual Justice League, but it's like a corporate team or something or other?
They're pulling from the boys.
Something like that, maybe. So my theory is I don't think they're going to be in the movie that much. Maybe like one of them hangs around a little bit, but I really think you're gonna get like
crazy.
A little, like they're gonna show up for a bit of like, hey, it's Green Lantern and Hawkgirl and
We're
Mr.
just gonna
Terrific.
throw them in the trailer, so
I'm not saying
so
they're gonna be
people
like
can
a
be excited.
5-second cameo, but I'm just saying like they might be in the movie like 10, 20, 30 minutes kind of thing.
But that's all.
Okay,
I
that's-
feel like that's all it should.
significant.
But that's all it should be though, because I feel like if you're making it, this is your first time seeing this guy as Superman. Like,
Yeah.
why would you have like, you know, huge segments about these people? Like, you
Yeah.
can't. It's too much, like you said. So I think that's why they're gonna make them kind of like.
well,
side
they're gonna
characters.
try and make them side,
Yeah.
but I think in the end they're gonna fail because I don't think they should have any of them.
You know, but you know who did that really well? It was
Who?
James Gunn.
This is what I was
The
gonna
Suicide-
circle
remember,
back
remember
to.
the Suicide Squad?
Yeah,
Remember the one
he did
where
that one.
they had
The second one?
Well,
Yes.
they had the whole
The good one.
the Suicide Squad, the great one,
Yeah,
where it had like Pete Davidson and all these side characters, and they die right away.
yeah.
And then even then, they introduced a bunch of like a whole team,
Yeah,
and they give them backstories all in one movie. So maybe they could do that.
yeah.
But I think they're gonna focus mainly on Superman, and I think he could do a good job giving them little backstories or whatever.
I think that's a fair point.
Yeah,
But Suicide Squad is a team.
sure.
You know what I mean? That's the premise of
True,
Suicide
true, true.
Squad.
That's
right?
why I think I agree with Maddie. I think it's gonna be like a. I think they're gonna be very brief, and maybe they'll explore them in different movies. I don't
Yeah.
know.
yeah.
Because my thing is what we've talked about before, which I'm interested in, is that they're throwing you into a DC universe that exists already. It's not the MCU where it's like Iron Man and then Captain America, which is obviously a flashback, and then Thor, and like
So it exists already, but we know nothing about it. Makes sense. We know nothing about it.
I guess, but what I'm just saying is they're not worried about, I guess, like having different characters like these people pop up in these, you know, specific ways. And so, like I said, my guess would be they're not in the movie very long. If they are, and it is like not an ensemble movie, but they are just in it a little more, that's the thing I was going to circle back to, is what Mark said, is to me it's like that doesn't, in a different director or a different situation, that might worry me. But when it's James Gunn who said, hey, here's the Guardians of the Galaxy in this first movie,
Yeah.
a team, like I had heard of them but had never read a single thing from, like a D-list team, and it's like by the end of it you love and care about every single one of those people. And same with Suicide Squad,
Yes,
which was
yeah.
even more like Z-list fucking people of like Polka Dot Man and Ratcatcher and like all this shit that nobody cared about. And then by the end of it, it's like, oh, I care deeply about Ratcatcher. I care deeply about Polka Dot Man
Yeah,
and
honestly,
King
no,
Shark
push it.
and like
no, that's true.
Bloodsport
Bro,
and even
I-
Peacemaker when he
that
has
movie-
the turn.
That movie made me fucking emotional at times, man. When especially when you were looking at like Ratcatcher's backstory with her dad, and they were like dying, and he's
Shout out Taika Waititi.
Yeah, Taika Waititi. That's right.
That's her dad.
But I was gonna say, I agree with Maddie that James Gunn is he's proven himself time and time again with superhero movies. You know, even that what's that called? Something Burn.
Oh, Brightburn,
Even
the horror
Brightburn.
Superman one.
Yeah, he was involved with that one. I don't know if he directed
Did
it
you
or
guys watch
produced it
that
or
one?
something. Yeah, we did. I
You
thought
watched it with us in the
watched it
That
with
theater.
kid who became evil with the super. Even that movie was like entertaining,
yeah.
but like his main actual superhero movies are all
that
incredible.
was scary as hell.
And I feel like your concern of like, you know, too many things happening at once, that was in the back of my mind while I was watching the trailer too. But I just feel like he's gonna focus on Superman. And you're not gonna feel like these people are in the way or annoying. Or I think he's such a good director that he's gonna kill it.
Okay.
And I don't think it's gonna be a problem. I really believe.
I
that.
want you to be right.
I
Trust
think,
me.
yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
I want you to be right.
Dude, like Guardians of the Galaxy, all three of them were all directed by him. All of them are incredible. Like,
And
so
they
amazing.
keep fleshing out that cast where
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like you get Nebula, you get fucking
Yes.
Yondu, like you get, I'm trying to figure out, or Mantis in 2, you
Mantis.
get like, and it doesn't sacrifice, Ronan's whatever in the first one, but it doesn't sacrifice how like great Ego is
And you know what's
in
awesome?
the second one.
You know what's amazing too is that we know that he has his hands on, he's controlling the whole new universe or whatever, right?
Yes.
So whatever concern you might have even about the first movie, if you feel like it was kind of hammed in a little bit, he has control of the whole universe. He's not gonna put them in there just for them to have no reason at all ever. You know what I'm saying? Like they'll serve a purpose, I'm sure, and he'll probably use them later in other movies and whatever. Or at the very least, if they're gone right away, maybe it'll be like a comedic thing, like he did with Suicide Squad, where they kind of just die right away type thing. And it's kind of funny that they introduce these big characters and then they kill them.
That wouldn't surprise me with Guy Gardner, because we know we're getting a Green Lantern like series.
I would like him
to die.
to
to
perish.
perish. We know we're getting a Green Lantern series, and they cast Kyle Chandler there as Hal, and I forget the guy they cast as Jon Stewart.
Okay.
So we know we're gonna get this like buddy cop, Green Lantern.
We need a buddy cop. How has that not been done? By
right?
the way?
But that's what we're gonna get, and everybody was all mad when they cast Kyle Chandler because they're like, oh, he's older and whatever, blah blah. I'm like, don't you see what they're doing? They're doing like a
Mentor.
They're going to say Hal has been Green Lantern for however many years. And now we're introducing Jon Stewart, and Jon Stewart's going to be like
Maddie,
the Green Lantern.
they're not as insightful as you are. Can I say? I feel like I'm sick of superhero movies.
I'm sick of them.
I
a
think
little
I'm
bit
sick
too.
of it.
I mean,
I'm not
that's
excited.
You know what I was
not uncommon thing.
You know what I was thinking about that? When I was watching the Game Awards, I talked to Maddie about this game. It's called like The Dispatch or whatever.
Yes.
Okay.
It seems really cool. It's Aaron Paul, who plays Jesse from Breaking Bad. He plays like this like desk clerk guy who recruits superheroes and sends them to specific areas and what like pardon me, it's kind of like a VOT type thing.
Okay.
But it seems like that he's actually like a good guy.
Yeah,
in the
more
movie.
on the up and up.
But I was like, this is such a cool idea, and it's like a Telltale type game, so it's like choose your own adventure, and you like basically help recruit these superheroes to like save areas or whatever.
Yeah.
But as I was watching it, I was like, this is so sick. But then I was like, but I'm so sick of superheroes. Like I remember one time they panned to a scene in the trailer of this video game, and it was like 5 or 6 superheroes, all like one's on fire glowing, and one's like glowing purple and pink, and I'm like, bro, I'm so sick of these different like ability superheroes, and I feel like I want to see these kinds of stories that are amazing, but like strip the superhero part of it. You could still have a really amazing story that doesn't have to be like super enabled type thing.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah.
But,
That being said, I'm excited as hell for Superman. I think it's going to be amazing.
I mean, I hope it
But
reinvigorates my
I think,
passion for that.
dude, if you like the Guardians of the Galaxy movies,
Yeah.
and you like, what else did he do? That was really good. Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
I think we're in for a treat.
I mean, we're already off to a good start because technically that Creature Commandos show, the animated one, which is part of like the new status quo, whatever, has been like there's only
What about
3 or so
Peacemaker?
episodes.
Is that not?
They're kind of, as far as I'm aware, even though it was like, Flash.
Isn't him or his
reset
brother
shit.
involved or something? Isn't Sean? Who's involved? I feel like James Gunn's involved somehow
He
with the
wrote
show.
and directed, or wrote
show?
at the very least, the Peacemaker show, which the
Oh,
first
there you go.
season that, by the way, fantastic. And they've either just finished filming or are like nearing the end of season
John Cena?
2. Yes.
Yeah.
After
So-
the Suicide Squad.
and he's amazing.
And that's the thing. That show, fantastic. And they're basically like, it's all a little weird, but like what they're basically trying to say is like, because even I saw a clip of Creature Commandos where it's Amanda Waller, I think, kind of involved, and it's like Viola Davis, there is it, putting like the team together and whatever kind of thing. And like she references like, because Weasel's on the fucking team from the Suicide Squad, and she references like, oh, he's like one of the only survivors from like the Corto Maltese thing. So it's like, okay, they're clearly trying to be like, hey, we're getting rid of all the other shit, but like Suicide Squad, yeah, it kind of happened. Peacemaker season 1, yeah, it kind of happened, but like, fuck you, Superman's like not Henry Cavill, and like we're starting all this over again, kind of thing.
This new guy looks great, and he was in Pearl as well.
Do you know his name?
I don't know the guy's name.
Say his name, man.
David Cornsweat.
There you
Corn
go.
Sweat.
It's Corn Sweat. Interesting.
It's not a real name.
Cornsweat.
But did you watch Pearl?
Corn Sweat's
Did you
not
watch
really-
Pearl, the A24 movie with us? The horror
We
movie?
did. We all watched.
Yeah.
Pearl.
Yeah, so
I watched X
he
and
was the
Pearl.
love interest in it. In
The
Pearl, he was the guy who
Scuzzy guy.
Oh, he
running
was the hot
theater.
guy.
Yeah, who owns the
Who got killed by
the
it.
film? Who
Sorry.
he owns the projection. He's a projectionist or whatever.
Yeah.
But I remember saying that to you guys at the time, watching it, like before the
It's a
turn where
Superman,
he
yeah.
becomes
You
like a
said this is
scuzzy
Superman.
asshole. Like that beginning when he's just talking to her and it's just like a totally
felt like
pleasant,
Superman,
charming
right?
dude. Like I told
Wait,
you
was
guys
he
after,
an asshole in that movie?
he becomes like a bit of a
Does
not
he, though?
evil,
Honestly,
not evil, but like
I
he's
gotta,
a little
Dude,
bit.
I
of a-
gotta defend him,
No,
to
I
be
gotta
honest.
push back on that because I don't
Yeah.
think at any point he's even a dick.
But he knows that she's like
She-
married and like
No, no,
still
no,
is
no.
trying to bang
Wait,
her.
wait,
He's
wait,
like
wait.
showing
Oh,
her
yeah.
porn and whatever.
Yeah.
Wait, Pearl's married?
Yeah,
Yeah,
she
because her
married
husband,
who's at
remember
World War
the
One,
husband,
and then he comes back at the very end, and everything's like fucked up.
Yeah.
So he's
I
not
guess
like
so.
evil, but he's definitely like
He's
he
come back. Yeah.
starts off very
Between the-
like aw shucks,
Sure.
and then kind of has a thing of like, oh, I'm like making
Yeah, yeah.
pornos and like I'm a little
Yeah, yeah.
like he's a little scuzzy.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That he
Yeah.
was like making adult content or whatever.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like comparatively, he's like a great guy.
Well, yeah, compared to her.
because she's like crazy.
But
yeah.
that's what I remember saying to you guys. Yeah, like
Comparatively, he's
just
the same.
those
Yeah.
few scenes of him in the beginning when he is aw shucks, it's like, fuck, this
Clark
guy's
Kent,
like
baby.
that's fucking Clark Kent.
Dude,
And even
yeah.
the trailer, it's just like when they show those couple shots of him as Clark and
Mm.
not Superman, like the one where he's in the Daily
And he
Planet
walks
and he
in-
turns around to
yeah,
look at
yeah.
Lois, like he
Yeah.
just has such a like deer caught in headlights look
Yeah.
to him.
You know what his hair reminded me of Patrick's hair.
It does.
In that scene, it's very curly and kind of like fluffy, and he has the glasses and stuff, and he looks like a Clark Kent. He looks great.
It
That's
does.
flattering.
Yeah,
Put it there.
and I think that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just kidding.
I'm sorry.
It actually wasn't even sweaty.
Oh, okay, good.
I think that even though I'm really excited about it, like I love Henry Cavill so much. I don't know why they couldn't have kept him. I know that maybe they wanted to just start fresh and get rid of all that shit. It's all in the past. But like at the same time, his jaw, dude,
You
and,
can't.
and he's incredible. Like
It's kind of like what's his name, Hugh Jackman.
yeah. How are you gonna move on from?
How are you
him?
gonna move on from Hugh Jackman? And then they couldn't for the longest time.
That's why
But
I-
somehow they
when
moved
they
on from Henry Cavill.
when they finally
Yeah, I don't
bring the X-Men
Yeah.
to the
Hugh Jackman's been in bare movies.
Well, I don't
Yes.
even
But
know.
Henry
if that-
Cavill hasn't.
But
No.
you'd like to think because of these superhero movies doing so insanely well, unless they like the superhero industry just like somehow crashes. I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
You could see in the future they're definitely gonna do a new Wolverine, right? But like,
Yeah.
it's gonna definitely be a weird thing.
I still think when they put the X-Men in the MCU, they should do Laura and not him.
That would be amazing.
That's my own personal thing. 'Cause
That's
I think
perfect,
that
though.
avoids. You're gonna have like idiots on the internet being like, "Oh, it's woke. They have a woman Wolverine." But I think that is how you
But I
avoid
don't think
the
you'll have-
like
I don't think you will.
comparisons to Hugh Jackman. Is
Yes.
you just say it's like it's Laura. She's the Wolverine.
I don't think you'll
like,
have that, though.
Put her in the blue and yellow suit like they fucking did in the comics.
I
and
don't
it's
think
great.
I don't think you'll have people complaining about that because people love Logan so much as a movie that people adore Logan, and she's super likable and great in the movie.
Yeah.
What's like Daphne Keene's fantastic in it. So I feel like if they do make her continue as Wolverine, people are gonna be like, oh, we love
I don't
that
think it would
movie.
be
And
like
she's
a
great.
big thing. It just
sure.
would be like the usual suspects
Yeah,
online
yeah.
would be like fucking.
you're always gonna have that, I
But
guess,
there's
yeah.
always gonna be those fucking.
That's a
losers.
great idea. I want them to do that because it's better than being like, oh, here's some random new actor, and then we have to come up with an excuse for why Hugh Jackman's not. Oh, he's just old, I guess now. It's like,
It's not plausible, but I just want Hugh Jackman till he dies.
yeah, he's amazing.
Like
Honestly,
they say
like,
in
putting him
Deadpool
in.
till
And-
he's 90.
and him and Logan as like basically like an old man Logan type thing was so sick. Like him when he's like old and wrinkly and but he's still like kind of jacked.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
And oh man, that movie's so good. I watched it recently, I was like 6 months ago,
Mm-hmm.
and it still holds up as incredible. And I have like a Blu-ray of it. There's one Blu-ray that's color, and there's one that's black and white. And I really want to watch the black and white one. I think it'll be really sick. But then I think as soon as I start watching, I'm gonna be like, what am I doing? I need color.
That's my thing. Even when like
Color.
Ghost of Tsushima came out, they're like, we
Yeah,
have like a
that'd be so
Kurosawa
sick.
mode and it's black and white. I'm like, that's dope as fuck. But then I was like, yeah, but the colors are amazing. Even with
Beautiful.
Godzilla -1, when they did like
Yeah.
the minus color version, and you can watch on Netflix, I think the color
Oh, wow,
or
that's
the
cool.
black and white version. And I'm like, yeah, it'd be cool to see it, and it looks like the 54 version, whatever. I'm like, but when he fucking shoots the blue fire, it's like, I
Yeah.
want that fucking blue.
Right? You'd think
Yeah.
like if you
So
see
you guys are all walk until it comes time to actually
yeah.
seeing the hearts.
I like that. I
artsy
like that it
stuff.
exists. I like that they
Yeah,
have
I
that
guess
option.
they're all talk. Sorry, not all walk.
But I love that they give that. I want more movies and shit to do that option for people that they.
Yeah.
Even for me, it's like if I love a movie so much and I watch it like 5 times, like I'm
Yeah.
sure you've seen Godzilla -1 a bunch of
Mm-hmm.
times. Every time, maybe you go like, "Should I watch the black and white?" And you're like, "No." Like, and there's no situation that would ever be like, "Oh, I need to watch the black and white over the color."
Mhm.
And maybe experience like in Ghost of Tsushima, like play the game like for 20 minutes or whatever. Then I'd be like, "Okay, I want to see like the red flowers and
Right.
and the blue
Yeah,
sky
that's
when
the
I'm
thing. It's
on
like,
the
I wanna
horse."
see
type
the-
thing. And then when I slice someone, the blood
the
splatters. It's not
horizon
gonna be
and
just
shit.
like yeah.
I'm nodding, but I never played that. I'm just nodding.
Ghost
So
of Tsushima's
anyways,
fantastic. You gotta play that.
Patricia, and I mean both of you here. So yes, I get your concerns about Superman, but like, what about the trailer itself though? Like, what thoughts? Anything sticks out to you as like
I like
I
the
told
music.
you what stuck out.
I like the music a lot.
using the John Williams theme on the electric guitar? Dope.
What's
Love
that?
that shit.
Like the original
Like
Superman
the OG
theme.
Superman.
That's
with
what
the
it
electric
was.
guitar,
Okay,
yeah.
because it sounded familiar to me.
Yeah.
I loved more than anything. Like I mean,
More than anything.
I loved more than anything his just seeing him as Clark Kent.
God.
Just like kind of scrambling into the Daily Bugle or whatever, and he's all. Is it the Daily Bugle? Sorry,
Planet.
Daily Planet.
That was
yeah,
Spider-Man.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
Spider-Man. Yeah,
the
yeah.
Daily Planet. It's
Daily
called?
Planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, him like getting in there and he's like dropping shit. He has a bunch of stuff with him.
Yeah.
And I like a lot the scenes with him and Lois.
Yes.
Like, you're gonna give you insight to like them like being together and stuff. What?
Isn't she supposed to be a ginger? Lois Lane.
Lois Lane? No, that's Mary Jane. I think Lois Lane's supposed to be brown haired.
Patrick was like, "Isn't she a ginger?" I was like, "No," and he's like, "But like maybe dark brown or whatever." I was like, "It's usually black hair."
Oh yeah, okay, there you go. Then no.
You agree with him? I don't agree with him.
I either thought it was brown or black. But I definitely
Amy
didn't think it
Adams
was...
in the like Man of Steel has like that more lighter hair.
Oh, I
but
forgot
that's
that she
not,
was the love interest
she
in
was
that. She's
Lois
awesome.
Lane.
Wait, who's the actress who plays Lois Lane in the new one now?
Rachel Brosnan, I think.
So it's
is her
like a
name.
new-
She's
a new-
in
younger
Marvelous
actress.
Miss Maisel. I've never
Oh,
seen her.
No
but
relation
everybody
to
says-
Pierce Brosnan?
No, I don't think so.
No relation.
No relation.
No, but I liked
Principal.
also the dog.
Yes, fucking Crypto.
He's
Like when he
cool.
calls him, and it's when he just does the whistle, and then you just see the like mound
Yeah.
of snow in the distance
Yeah, yeah.
because he's like running through the Arctic at him. I was like, this is so fucking.
I thought for a
awesome.
second I was like, did his whistle cause this huge thing far away? And I was like, why is he whistling? And then the
Yeah.
dog comes.
And
up.
then it's him coming here. Like to me, I've watched this show so many times today. I love the suit. I love how bright it is.
It's very
I
comic
love that-
booky, isn't it?
It's so. I
Comic
love that
booky.
they kept the red trunks. Like all that shit's great. I love him in it. The stuff of him as Clark we get, where he's just like bumbling around like an idiot, is fucking awesome. Everything with him and Lois, whether it's just the two of them like holding hands, but the shot of them making out when
Yeah,
he's like
yeah.
levitating the two of them and they're just like slowly twirling. So perfect. And to me, it's like even Crypto is just,
You would want that recreated.
huh?
You would want that recreated.
Yes. I love how they're just embracing like
the cheesiness
the
of it.
comic booky, and 'cause some
Yeah.
people were saying, like, I saw some comments where like there were some people that were like, "Oh, this looks dumb," and some people were being like, "Oh, this looks kind of like corny or whatever," and blah
Yes,
blah,
I've
and
heard
like, or
that.
like Crypto's weird,
I
like
was
why?
about-
They,
dude,
and I'm like,
I was about to
yes.
I was about to say I didn't read any of the comments. I just watched the trailer, and I just knew people were gonna be like, anytime a superhero movie really goes hard on being like authentically like comic booky, people are like, this is so stupid and dorky, and this is for geeks and whatever. But then they take a movie that's like a superhero movie and or from a comic book and they make it really grounded and dark, like they did with the Dark Knight, and everybody
Or the
loves it.
Batman.
Sure, yeah, the Batman, yeah.
And it's like with
Is that what you
Batman,
No, I was thinking of like the Christian Bale one,
Oh.
but even I guess I feel like the Batman is pretty equally as grounded, and I think that it opens it up for more non-superhero fan or non-comic book fan
Yeah.
people just to like appreciate it. They're like, oh, this is badass, even if it's not even, I don't care about superheroes. But then this, like the shot where he's like laying there on the ground, he's like in pain.
which I
And
love.
Yeah, it's great. And but he has like the red underwear on. People are gonna be like, "What the fuck? This is stupid." A lot of people are gonna have that feeling, but I think if you really care about superhero characters and comic books, like you're gonna love it because it's authentically that.
Yeah.
But if you're like a casual person, I think he's gonna alienate some people potentially, and I think that's good. Like you shouldn't just try to appeal to everybody. Like make it authentically what you want it to be.
I just like that they're embracing, like, even the fact that there's like some big ass fire breathing monster in it, like that you see the shot of for a second where you see it breathing the fire, but
I completely forgot
arguably
that.
my favorite shot of the trailer when you see what I assume is like its foot behind that little girl who doesn't notice, and it's like the slow-mo shot of him just like
Oh, yeah,
super speeding
okay.
in and not like moving her but just like shielding her from all those fucking
remember
like
that,
all the debris that goes flying. I like Man of Steel,
I
but
love it,
Man
yeah.
of Steel very clearly, and this feels weird when there's like a giant fucking Zod ship in the sky shooting a beam down, but Man of Steel tried to be like,
grounded.
hey, it's Superman, but like we're kind of grounding this in some
You know,
reality.
You know, as a part of it too. Man of Steel's color grading was very.
Yes.
It's very like
all the Zack Snyder shit.
yeah. It's all very like bleak.
Yeah.
Cool tones, grays, blues, like very dark colors.
Yeah.
Whereas this, when you watch it, it's like you're reading a comic book. It's like bright red and bright
Yes.
yellow and bright blue, and it's really like nice to look at. But again, some people are going to be like, "This is really cheesy." I can't wait for that. I don't want another grounded, super real, dark like. you
To
know.
me, it's just it comes across as very like earnest and
Yeah.
very like, hey,
Lighthearted.
this is fun,
Yeah.
goofy at times, like corny, but still compelling.
I'm sure it's gonna have heart too. A
Shit,
lot of heart.
exactly. And we're gonna like embrace that. Even the way they've talked about, and I know we've talked about this before, that they're gonna do like another Batman. You know, that's connected to this Superman stuff and leave out the Robert Pattinson stuff.
Oh, yeah, I
'Cause as
don't
far
want-
as I, unless they change
so mad about that.
course, that's Pattinson's thing is still, and everything Matt Reeves is doing is its own separate thing. But like they've mentioned how with the Batman that will be more in universe, they won't. It's not going to be like super grounded, super real. Like it's going to be more. You know, hey, here's Clayface, or like Killer Croc, or
honestly-
one of the more like supernatural guys.
I honestly think to avoid people getting because the vast majority of people are going to be upset about that, about a new Batman. I think again, James Gunn is a genius. He'll do whatever he does, and it'll be great, I think. But if I was in his brain, I'd be like, dude, like I don't want to do another Batman. Like we just introduced, like Robert Pattinson is new, and people, it's fresh on people's mind, and they love him. And the movie's great. People are really excited about the next movie. It's coming out in 2026. And then now, when he introduces Batman to this new universe, in his own universe, it's gonna be a new actor, a new guy, probably, and it'll be around the same time that the second Batman's coming out, probably, or something like that. And then it'll just be this weird thing where two Batmans exist simultaneously, and I think people are going to be annoyed with that. A lot of people are going to be like casual movie fans are going to be like confused, like who's actually Batman? People who don't understand that differentiation between universe and non-universe. So I think if I were him, I'd just stay away from that shit, or just merge it somehow. But then his style is not like that. Is the
That's
issue?
the thing. I'm of two minds on it because there is a part of me that's like, I love the Pattinson shit so
It's
much
amazing, yeah.
that I'm like, just connect it and let his Batman bounce off of like David's Superman because they're so polar opposite. But there's also like the other side of it is to me where it's like, yeah, but the Reeves stuff is so good that like I appreciate just leaving that the fuck alone.
It feels like a different world too, because even just from that trailer, again, we're talking about the tone difference and the
exactly
and the way it just the way it makes you feel when you watch it, and it's just more dark and slow. I feel like I'm so excited to have his own contained universe. I've always felt like his movies are the best in the MCU, hands down. So I think him having his own universe and keeping it contained is going to be fucking amazing. But I also think that I want them so badly to do a Matt Reeves trilogy. They did the first one; it was a 10 out of 10. Do two more, make them great, and then like maybe hold off in the James Gunn universe with Batman until after the trilogy's over or something. Or I don't know. I just don't want to see two simultaneous Batmans, and I don't think it's going to work well to tie in Pattinson. It's gonna feel weird.
That's my thing though. Even though it would be cool to see Pattinson, it's like, how do you make that work without it being like, oh, here's like some fucking multiverse hijinks?
And you know what's so perfect about James Gunn doing Superman first is I feel like all the shit that we're talking about it being very colorful and comic booky, he's already proven that multiple times with every Guardians of the Galaxy movie that's very colorful and fun and whatever, very comic booky, but also like can make you cry with like for Rocket Raccoon in the third one and stuff. So I think it's like the perfect thing. It's the perfect. Superman's the perfect superhero for James Gunn to direct. I feel like he has that, like he could have that mix of like charm and fun and like
literally the only other thing I would have ever thought of, assuming James Gunn had stayed at Marvel and hadn't taken over DC, and to the thing about him being able to do ensembles, the only thing I would have ever, I guess, wanted from him otherwise, and I'm sure if somebody said, what about this character? And I'd be like, oh yeah, that's a fucking match made in heaven. But like, the only other thing I would have ever loved to see him do would have been like
Deadpool?
an X-Men movie.
Oh, I thought you said Deadpool.
Of
Okay.
like, pick your ensemble cast, and he would have picked like, it would have been like Cyclops and Jean and Wolverine, but he also would have
Jubilee.
picked like some fucking weird ones you've never, like D-list X-Men characters, and just given you this like great ensemble X-Men movie that you would have fucking bawled your eyes out at the end.
It almost seems like that's his what do you call it? His thing is making
MO.
like team movies. His MO?
MO, if you will.
Is that
His
what
modus
is that what
operandi.
MO? Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, I mean that's just his, it's like a niche that he's fulfilled, is making like incredible team movies. So, but I mean, Superman's not. I mean, maybe it's going to be a team movie with the trailer. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be a team.
I don't think it's a team thing.
No,
I think
no,
it
no.
is more just like, hey, these other heroes exist
Yes,
in this world.
But
like,
if there's anyone who can make those little side characters at least interesting for the brief time that they're in there, it's him, I think.
exactly.
I'll take us out of Superman here.
Well, the last thing I just wanted to say about shit that I like from it too, I don't like in Man of Steel and Batman vs Superman when they tried to pull the whole like Superman Jesus comparison, where it's like he's this holier than thou figure and like all this shit.
gonna
But isn't that inherently what he's like in the comics? He's like this perfect. Well, I don't
Kind
know.
of.
never
What
read
I
that.
like that go hand in hand for me is the beginning of the trailer starting with him having like just gotten his ass kicked by something. I think is such a nice
to humanize him, right?
to humanize him compared to the like perfect, even like the OG Superman movie of like what pissed people off and made people so bored of him for decades of like, oh, he could just rewind time. Like, where's the interest in this
What's the
character?
point? Yeah.
I like starting with the like, no, like he can get his shit rocked
and
kind
him
of thing.
and him seeming like he's kind of like flustered and freaked out going into work. He's kind of
Yes.
not all, like he's not like perfectly straight. and put together.
Exactly.
It
He's
makes
not
him- makes him-
confident.
Because
kind
even
of.
Henry
I'm sure he's
Cavill,
confident, but
Oh,
he
okay.
seems like in that moment he's like, I'm gonna have to rewatch it again, but it
Yeah.
seems like in that moment he's late, for example,
Yeah.
or
Yes.
he's like has a lot of stuff with him, and he's free, and he drops something, picks it up.
Yeah.
He's like
He's
he's like
frantic,
an
he's
everyman, and
stressed,
people are like,
yeah.
oh, he's like super.
Even Henry Cavill, we didn't get a lot of him like as Clark.
I liked
in
him as a
any of
waiter.
those movies.
Like again, he was still very stoic.
But
and,
when
like,
he was Clark in those movies, it was like what people say with Andrew Garfield in the Amazing Spider-Man
cool,
movies, where
right?
it's like he's Peter Parker, but he's too fucking
He's
cool.
too
Like
badass.
everybody would want to bang this guy.
Yeah, yeah.
And even Henry Cavill like nails the Superman part, but even his Clark part always felt a little like
too macho.
you're still too like awesome. Whereas I like the bumbling thing, but the thing about him getting his ass kicked, to me, it's like, again, there's the moment, and I forget if it's Man of Steel or Batman vs Superman, where it's like a flood or something, and somebody's on their roof, and they've like painted like the S on the roof or something, and they wrote like "Save Us" or some shit, and it cuts up to him, and he's like kind of silhouetted against the sun, and I don't think he like literally has both of his arms out,
But he's
it's a
floating
very
downwards.
like
Yeah.
they're doing the very Christ-like thing. I like the idea of people calling out to him, but I don't need the Christ part of him. To me, the thing in the trailer where it's the fucking war zone and everybody's like scrambling around, but the kid's lifting the like clearly handmade flag thing, and like everything, all this shit's happening around him, but he's just clutching it and just like whispering under his breath like Superman, Superman. Chills and happy tears. That's the fucking shit I want of like the hope. This is our guy, like, but he's not fucking, you know, the second coming of Christ.
You know what's interesting? I feel like when we're talking about that, when I think of Man of Steel, I think of that scene where he's at the bartender and some guy messes with him and he like throws beer in his face, and I also like how like it just bounces off like super easy, and he doesn't even like he's like still straight faced, and then he ends up like throwing logs into
All
the
the
guy's
logs.
truck or whatever.
Yeah.
I feel like the difference between this Superman and that Superman is going to be like if this current Superman from James Gunn's one was in that situation, I think it would fluster him more, and he would be like, "Oh shit!" Like, and then he'd be like really sad and upset, and like,
And he
show
would
his-
take it.
I think he would show his heart on his sleeve a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think again, just that scene of him dropping shit makes him feel more of like a. It almost feels like he's like an older like Spider-Man, where Spider-Man is just like this young person who's like he's not established yet, right? I don't know if this Superman is going to be established and he's been Superman for a while or not, but I like the idea of him being like he's still kind of getting his bearings with shit, and he's getting his ass kicked still and whatever.
He's living in a studio apartment, maybe.
Sure. Yeah,
The
yeah.
assumption, I think, we don't really know. Like, it's not like before The Batman came out when they were very clear of like, yeah, he's been doing this for like 2 years. And then the first fucking opening scene, other than Riddler killing the mayor of The Batman when he's doing the narration, is like, I've been at this for 2 years or whatever. The vibe I get is that it's not like
An origin story.
maybe it definitely not an origin
Yeah, yeah.
story. Like they've talked about, they're not doing that. But I don't know if it's like, I would assume he's been around either a similar couple of years or like maybe a little bit longer than that. But like I get the sense, I mean, even the fucking kid with the flag and everything, like in some other country, like he's a known quantity.
I knew you were gonna say that.
known quantity.
I knew he was gonna say quantity.
Like it's not like people are discovering him for the
Sure.
first time, like in Man of Steel,
Sure,
where it was
sure,
like,
sure.
oh shit, Superman. Like I think it's again, it's a DCU that exists too, where it's like people are probably used to Green Lanterns and like the villains and some of this more
But to, like-
fantastical shit.
But to just like say quickly what I was trying to say is like I like the fact that he's more. People can relate to him more, and I think
Yes.
that he's gonna be more like. He's gonna be more sensitive than like that Henry Cavill like guy who nothing affects him type.
Yes.
Thing. And I think that like again, if he was in that scene where people were messing with him, he would still be a strong person, and he wouldn't like lash out at somebody. He's still like that good superhero type thing. But I feel like you could probably see the emotions on his face more, and he would be more like affected by it, as opposed to Henry Cavill like literally like not moving an inch and not showing any emotion on his face.
Which
type
was
thing.
the problem. Not so much like I mean, it's his performance, but it's the direction and just the writing
I'm
of
sure
like, you know,
he just
oh, we're
followed it,
doing
yeah.
like serious Superman, and it's like, well,
also the
but
thing.
make it more human.
The problem with that is when you do the Justice League and you have him that dark and serious, and then Batman that dark and serious, that you have no
Yeah.
contrast.
yeah,
you need the contrast.
Yeah.
and to me it's one of there are moments where you get the like real Superman shine through in some of the Henry Cavill stuff, and I've always liked the joke in Batman vs Superman when
I
they're
never
fighting.
watched that, by the way. You watch that?
You're what?
I've never seen Batman.
I feel like we've talked about this. Yeah, these never say. But when they're fighting Doomsday towards the end, and Wonder Woman shows up like for real the first
What's
time.
the name they say in that?
What?
Melanie.
Martha.
Martha.
Because it's their mom's names.
Yeah.
Yes. But when
Who's
In
mom?
Batman versus Superman.
It's Superman's name, mom's name.
It's Superman's mom's name
and
Ba-
Bruce's.
Bruce's mom.
So the whole thing. This was the thing that
It's like Bond over there.
that got clowned on of like their fight where like Batman's about to kill Superman and then he stops because Superman's like save Martha and Batman's like, why the fuck did you say that name? And it like trips him out, whatever. We've talked about this before. It's a good idea executed as poorly as possible. Because the idea that in Superman's dying breath, he's pleading with him to help his mom, and that like shows Batman like, oh wait, this guy is human and he's not some like alien who's gonna kill us all. The idea of that is good. The execution was piss poor.
Save Martha!
But that joke between Batman and Superman and BVS when
He yells it like that?
when Wonder
Doesn't he
Woman
yell it?
kind of, yeah, when Wonder Woman pulls up and like they have that moment of like, is she with you? And Batman's like, I thought she was with you, kind of thing. Like, that's an example of like, oh, you can be like a real person in this, Superman, and you can like bring a little bit of humor out of Batman, which is what makes, you know, their whole dynamic so fun. But
And
yeah,
I
when
don't-
Superman's just like the whole time, it's like, so you're gonna have him and Batman pouting.
It always seemed to me like I've never read the comics or anything, but anytime I'd watch like I played like even like a Justice League game. Like I played so many PS2 games that were like the Justice League game, and I played like the Batman
Lego?
Sinzu and whatever that. I feel like I've played seen so many even cartoons, like the original show and stuff like that. I always remember Superman not being like super fun loving guy, whatever. Like he's still very serious, but he's more like positive and like optimistic and like trying to give people the benefit of the doubt, whereas Batman is like cynical and like but like they're both very serious, but one's kind of like hopeful and open and one's more like closed off type thing.
Yeah, like Superman's not quippy.
Yeah, so
he's not that kind
that's
of.
not, I don't. Yeah, exactly. I'm not. When I say that, I think he's gonna be more like more relatable. I don't think in the kind of like busting balls kind of way. I think in the kind of like, you know,
Regular
well-rounded guy. Yeah.
It's not. Yeah, you're
The
not
Flash
gonna get
is the kind of
yes,
right.
and I don't think you're gonna get, because I know some people are even worried with that of like, oh, like James Gunn's
Too
gonna make
goofy with it?
Superman like quippy or whatever. It's like, I don't think he's gonna turn him into Star-Lord or Peter
Yeah.
Parker, who
No.
are more like joking characters. But it is, again, to me, it's like he's an earnest, like, you know, genuine good person.
He's a red-blooded American.
you know, yes, he's a genuine do-gooder.
He's
you
a
know?
Republican.
He's a
He's a
Republican.
It's like there's a
think he'd vote
video.
I think so. He's from Kentucky.
Kansas. There's
He's
a
from
video.
Kansas. He'd vote red.
Oh, dark red.
There's
over
a
That's
there.
video,
dark red.
There's a video that like a guy like who does
He's mocking.
very good video essays, and he talks about. There's one he has all about Superman, and like he ends it by saying he's not an alien, he's not a god, he's just a regular dude from Kansas trying to do the right thing. And it's like, yes, exactly. James Gunn, take that and run with it. Also, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Wildly Adequate. We're like 45 minutes in, episode, I want to say
Yeah,
91.
I thought we were about an hour in almost.
The road
Really?
to
Yeah, I
100.
That has been like 15 minutes, dude.
No,
What
it's
the
been
hell's
a
wrong
hot
with
minute
me?
here. We've been going on and on about the Superman stuff. I love it. Show about anything and everything, usually nothing. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. It's the Christmas episode because this goes out on the 21st.
Dude,
Look, it's the
Can I
Christmas
just say,
background.
I love Christmas, dude.
I love Christmas.
I love Christmas so much. I
I've
can't
been
wait for
stressed
Christmas.
lately getting
Why?
gifts for everyone
Oh, okay,
like
yeah,
that,
yeah,
especially
yeah.
now because it's like I have both my parents. I mean, Michael's easy enough. Just fucking give him cash because it's all he wants anyways.
Did you
But
pull your
both my
Secret Santa
parents-
name, by the way?
Yes.
Okay.
Who'd you
Both-
get?
I can't tell you that.
Did you get one of the Goyles? No,
I
you
can
can't-
either
you can't say.
confirm.
You can- you
No, wait,
can't.
wait. I know that.
You know that. You know how it is.
Well, because Patrick and Malcolm told me who they have.
Great.
Did you know who they have?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
And I don't want to know. But so it's my parents, my brother, two
Leave out the
Secret
name.
Santas that I'm in.
Leave out the name.
Uh,
I have. No kidding.
Varsha's sister, Varsha's parents.
You're
like,
getting Varsha's sister.
You're getting
again?
Varsha's sister a gift, and you're getting Varsha's parents a gift, and you're getting
Last year I
Varsha's
did.
aunts and uncles gifts.
no, just her parents.
Man,
and
what
her
a
sister.
precedent you've set.
I know.
That's a pre-
I
that's a
doomed
precedent,
myself
dude.
with this. Well, but last year
I thought I was
got
stressed. I have to do
last
like
year I
three.
got her
You
mom.
have to do what?
I have to do like my parents
Yeah.
and my brother
And Secret
then my
Santa.
Secret Santa. So I thought 4. I was like, damn, bro, it's a
Yeah,
lot.
I got a lot going on right now.
Why
But
would
last
you do
year-
that to yourself?
I don't know. Last year I got her sister like
Can we get more of an answer than that?
I don't know. I just felt compelled.
Okay. You're balling this year?
Not really. I'm just kind of getting stuff. But last year I got her mom a Totoro blanket because her mom likes Totoro. I got her dad a bottle of whiskey.
Her mom likes Totoro? Oh.
And I got her sister.
Was her mom raised here?
No.
Okay, keep going.
And I got her sister, I think, just like a pair of Incredibles socks because her sister loves the Incredibles. This year I tried to step up a little bit. I got her mom like a little tea set thing. I got her dad like a couple whiskey glasses.
You
like,
got her mom a tea
little
set
box.
thing
yeah.
because she's Indian and
No.
they drink tea there?
No, you idiot.
asshole.
I ran this by Varsh. And I got her
just
sister
kidding.
like a Harry Potter cup and also this like Harry Potter, it's like makeup brush things or whatever. I don't fucking know. But I literally 10 minutes before we started recording, I send in
You
the
should have gotten her.
Amazon
You
order.
should have gotten her sister more Incredible socks, but a different design.
This is all you're getting from
Here
me
you
from
go
here on
again.
out. No, that's funny.
But yeah, so I love Christmas, best holiday, but it has become
best holiday.
stressful in
Dude,
that specific aspect.
Can I just voice that? Like, we got about 2 weeks left, ish, 2.5 weeks until the new semester starts, right?
Yeah.
And I've not watched a single Christmas movie.
Me neither.
So why don't we get on that? Why don't we get in our pajamas, and why don't we get some hot cocoa with little
When we
little
do our
marshmallows
Secret
in there?
Santa meetup, let's do that.
But let's do it before that, because we're not doing Secret Santa until after Christmas, bro.
That's right.
Right? What day is it today? Like the 19th or 20th or whatever?
Today's the 19th.
Yeah, so we got like 5 days until Christmas or whatever.
Mhm.
We can do movies at some point
Mhm.
and watch a movie or two and make some cookies. We can make some Pillsbury
That'd be
cookies.
fun, yeah. That'd be fun.
I want to get that.
I want to get in the mood.
Yeah, I want to get into the mood, because when January starts,
Why is he laughing at us?
Just laughing that you want to get in the mood.
Why are you laughing at us?
what's your problem? No, but what I want to do is I want to feel that, and I want to get that love in my heart, that Christmas love,
Mm-hmm.
so that when I go back to school in January, I'm not like, oh God, I didn't even get a break. I didn't do anything. I just played COD every day.
Dude, I'm afraid that I'm not going to give my
Yeah.
family the
The
Christmas
time.
spirit.
Oh, okay.
I'm afraid I'm not going to give it to them. I feel like I'm losing it so quickly every single year. I'm losing
I gotta
it.
put limits on myself for COD, because I've been playing about 8 to 10 hours every day, and that's not even a joke. 8 to 10 hours every day. So if I don't stop very soon, all of a sudden I'll wake up and it'll be January 6th,
Yeah.
a Monday, and I'll be on your campus
Yeah.
wanting to die because I didn't experience Christmas to the fullest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I want to watch National Lampoons. I want to watch A Nightmare Before Christmas, the best Christmas.
You
movie
want to
of all
watch A
time.
Nightmare Before Christmas
Before Christmas?
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Preferably.
God, when are we getting another one of those?
So I don't know if
but,
you guys want to keep talking about Christmas. I did want to bring up.
I have a topic.
I did want to bring something up that happened in the sauna because I can't get it out of my head.
Oh.
I just can't. Do it.
Oh yeah.
I just can't do
Please.
it. I can't get it out of my head.
Okay, okay, go ahead.
And I was
Can
surprised. And I was
introduce it?
You can introduce it. Yeah.
Okay, so we went to the gym,
Right.
and we worked out with me, Liam, Patrick, and Matt and Malcolm.
Keep going. I checked the camera, but I didn't
Okay,
actually
double
check
check.
if it was rolling. Like I just looked at the
Mm.
framing and was like, yeah, that's good, and didn't even see if it was rolling.
You're
Keep
dumb.
going.
If it's not rolling, we're gonna stop and not do anything.
Yeah. No, if it's not rolling, we're done. If we're not rolling, we're releasing an audio episode.
Oh, thank God. Dude. He did a little cutback.
I knew it was rolling to begin with. I
just wanted to
make sure it was still rolling.
Oh, God.
to check. It just didn't look at the time.
Imagine if it wasn't. Yeah, sorry, go on.
So I want to preface the story by saying that there's a lot of pessimism about our society right now, especially about the Canadian political realm and shit, and
Right.
and where things are at economically
And the economic realm.
Yeah, just and socially, people
Yeah.
are really upset. People,
It's like a global thing.
I think it's a global thing. I think that Trump winning the presidency is gonna have this ripple effect on everybody, and I think it's already starting.
Mm.
And I think that people are frustrated and they want to change, and they I feel like this happens so periodically throughout history where things dip economically, and then it's just like the current political leader is the one to blame for all of this, and like if we get him out, it'll all be fine. And so anyway, just that's like a preface to what was going on. I think that's what impacted whoever this person was.
Yeah.
But so we were in the sauna, and there was a bunch, like 8 guys in there.
Yeah.
Aside from
we were
us
saying
five.
shoulder to shoulder. Mark's
Yeah.
knees
Yeah.
were
I know.
pressed into my
Naked?
leg.
No, we were
or toweled.
I was in my underwear.
He
but
was
some
in his
people are
underwear.
toweled.
I was in a swimsuit.
Right.
Yeah, but anyway, we're sitting there, and usually in the sauna, there's like people just kind of talk shit and hang out and whatever, and just like random guys you don't know will be like, "How's it going, bro?" And like you'll just talk to random people.
Yeah.
And this one guy was very vocal, just like from the get go, was just making jokes and whatever.
Yeah.
And then like out of nowhere, he said something. I don't know what he said.
Oh,
if you know,
he said. Okay, so
that offended.
can I jump in now?
Yeah, sure.
So he said. That's where you're at right
No,
now.
I know what he main said. I was gonna say
Yeah.
that. I was gonna say
Yeah.
initially he said something, and then he was like, "Oh, I didn't mean to offend anybody in sitting down here," but and I was like, "What do you even say?" And then Patrick's like, "I don't know." And then he goes, "Yeah, bro, like Canada's like straight up like a third world country right now. Like it's gonna be like we're gonna be like in a straight up third world country in 10 years or whatever."
Yeah.
And then Patrick was like, "Is it third world now or like in 10 years?" And the guy was kind of like, "Yeah, bro, it's fucked up right now, whatever." And Patrick's like, he asked the same question again, like a couple times. And he finally was like, "Yeah, like right now it is." And then, but you can add on to it what else he said after that.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty much what he said. He was basically saying that Canada's a third world country, and he kept doing this thing where he was like, "Oh, it's going to be a third world country in 10 years," but it's like also a third world country now.
Mm.
And after he left out, I said like you can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
Like, he was
So
being
it is and will remain for the next decade.
perhaps
a
that's
third world
perhaps what he
country.
mean. Perhaps that's what he means. But
You know what's interesting though? Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say you can be upset with what's the
Yeah.
economic situation of Canada. And maybe you don't like what Trudeau's doing. Whatever. You can be upset about all that. But let's not kid
Let's not be
ourselves
too
here.
crazy.
Well,
here.
it's
Let's not
kind of
joke
like
around
that's
here,
a
right?
problem on both sides of the aisle where you'll have like people on the left, talk about like a social issue, for example, that like isn't being treated well enough or like is being mistreated, for example, let's say, and they'll be like, oh my God, this is so bad, like X group has it so hard in our country and blah, 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 without realizing like, and it's not to say that you shouldn't do anything or things shouldn't be fixed or blah, 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 but it's like, yeah, compare that to like other countries where, X group, for example, is like, imprisoned kind of thing. And then on the right, it's like, oh, we're doing so bad as a country and this, that, and the other thing and blah, blah, blah. We're like a third world country or whatever. And it's like, again, doesn't mean things couldn't be better. Doesn't mean we couldn't be improving things. Like there is a somewhat of a point there, but it's like,
Well, just
do
so
you
we're-
have
just
any
so we're-
context?
Just so we're clear, he didn't say we're like a third world country. He
Sure.
said we are.
But
we
what
are
I'm
third
saying
world
is, do you have
country.
no side has context for what that really means?
You know what's interesting though?
Is what I'm saying.
I saw a clip recently on Instagram where someone it was one of those kind of like conservative speakers at a college campus type thing. One of those videos.
Okay.
But it was actually a really interesting video and I liked it. And the guy, I think it was, I don't remember who it was, but it was a guy there and a student came up and was talking about like, the student goes like, do you love America? And he asked the person and the person's like, yeah, I love America. It's like the best country in the world, in my opinion. I love living here, whatever. And then the speaker, the other person who's like the student is like, well, I hate America or whatever. And then the whole crowd starts like booing them and the kids laughing or whatever. And then the conservative speaker is like, it's interesting, like the United States, and I think Canada's a similar thing, is like one of the only countries in the world you'll find where people say that they can't stand it and they hate it, but they'll never leave. Like so many people complain about how it's a third world country, but this guy, he was talking about how he's like Palestinian in descent, I think, right?
The guy in the song.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said he was Palestinian.
And so look at the
born.
situation over there. Look at the situation in so many countries where people have no freedom and people are fucked and it's horrible. And yet people are here like with so much freedom and they're like, God, I fucking hate it. Like it's a third world country. It's like, dude, like you have it really good. Like we all have it really good. Like Maddie said, we can improve in so many ways. And just because we have it good doesn't mean that we should give up and not try to strive for more.
Well, just because.
But I think that people like, we're in such an amazing time in our society right now. And I feel like we can complain about so much and we should for sure. But that's such a hyperbolic statement. And to be like, we're in a third world country, it's like, okay, then go to a first world country then. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think you're right. Like, no one is saying Canada's perfect.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, some people do people say America's perfect? No one's saying America's perfect.
I'm sure so. Some people. But.
Maybe some people. But, and sure, we should strive to always better our society. But if you don't acknowledge what you have,
exactly,
you're at risk of losing it.
For sure.
Like, we have something good here.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
People come here.
So we need to acknowledge what we have.
People come and stay here. Yeah, exactly. People come and stay here for a reason. And it's because that compared to their homeland, compared to Egypt, for example, like I love Egypt. You love Egypt. But there was more opportunity here for us like job wise and for education and to go to like good universities and whatever.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of wonderful things about Canada. And I feel like people, once they get comfortable here and they settle in, then it's like all of a sudden it's like, oh, this place ain't shit. It's like the grass is always greener, I guess, right?
Yeah,
Where it's like no matter where you are, as soon as you're in there for a while, you start to, it's kind of like how you like become like nose blind to where you are and you can't smell. And people will come in and be like, oh, that smells interesting. It's like, I don't smell anything. Because like you're used to this living space now. It's like you just get so used to living there. And then all of a sudden, like it starts to feel like it's the worst place ever.
Yeah.
But if you went back, it'll be like a cultural shock, you know?
Yeah, to me, it's just like, again, it doesn't mean things can't be better. And I also don't like to play, the whataboutism game of like, but what about this and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, that's worse. But it is like, to me, again, it frustrates me where it feels like there is this doom and gloom on both sides of the aisle, where it's like you ask some people on the left and it's like the fucking country's falling apart, and you ask some people on the right and it's like the fucking country's falling apart for differing reasons, but like the same idea of like things are falling apart and blah blah blah. And when that example is brought up of like, oh, it's like a third world country, I'm not even saying go to like a war torn, I'm not saying go to Ukraine, I'm just saying like go to like a country that is like third world, like
Developing
way
country,
more
yeah.
impoverished, like, you know, not even some war torn
Yeah,
whatever
yeah,
thing
yeah.
where it's like dangerous or whatever.
Go to
but,
some
like,
random African
go,
country. or
yeah,
something.
like just go somewhere
Whatever.
that isn't as
well off.
well off and
Yeah,
well
yeah.
to do kind of thing. It's like, and stay there for
Exactly.
5 years
It's just perspective.
and
dude.
then come back.
It's
Like, I
just
feel like,
perspective.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Like-
people just lack that.
I've given this example before. Go to Egypt. Like, like well, let's just keep it generalized. Go to Egypt. You can become an engineer, right? Matthew, I've run the numbers with people who I know who are engineers in Egypt. Working part-time, we make 3 times what they make a month.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying to you?
But even this is a thing. This is what I meant or too when I said it's like a global thing, because this is just something that's happening everywhere. Look at fucking Japan. This like powerhouse country, and it's like their economy is so fucked right now.
Really?
The French and German governments both just like collapsed. Like, and now they're in all this fucking like, we think it's bad here. They're in all this fucking political turmoil of like, now we got to figure all this shit out. And I don't mean collapsed as like the fucking buildings burned down and everybody's
No,
dead, but I mean like a parliamentary sense, like it's falling the fuck apart. So it's like this is happening kind of everywhere right now, even in like countries that would be considered more like rock solid, like, you know, Germany's like the EU's biggest economy or whatever, and Japan again
It
is
is?
this like powerhouse. Yeah, I think so. And then maybe France is like second.
You know what's interesting? I feel like even though we're saying all of this, I do understand where these people are coming from, and there are serious concerns to be had for whatever reason you think it is. Like, there are problems in Canada, and there's problems everywhere. So it's one of those things where you can't be too doomsday-like of like, this is all done, like we're all screwed.
Yeah.
But you also can't be too like, it's fine. Like, just like go somewhere else if you don't want it, and it's perfect here. It's like, no, it's not perfect. Like we said, there's so many things that could be better, but we shouldn't be too like, no, we're chilling. Like, we should fight for trying to figure out a better way to figure, like a better way to build
appreciate what you have and understand that it could and needs to be better.
Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
go out and do that
It's a
instead
good-
of
it's a
just,
good
it's fucked, blah, blah, blah.
It's a great foundation, that's for sure, right? Like, the base is solid. Like, you know.
Yeah, and it's just, it also just pisses me off from the sense of too, like, stop saying like you're gonna leave or all this shit, because it's
Yeah,
like, it's
exactly.
like none of you fucking.
You're not
are.
gonna
It's like
leave.
the first time Trump got elected in 2016 when everybody's like, if he all these fucking Hollywood types, are like,
nobody left.
if he wins, I'm leaving. Not one fucking person left.
And I'm sure if people left, they probably came back because they're like, I don't like it in the other country. It's, you know, I can't live
Yeah,
there or
I
whatever.
just all this, I don't know. It kind of segues into the topic I had. We don't have to go too long on this, but
Is
I've been,
Malcolm coming up?
I don't know. I've been dying to talk to you guys about this in some capacity, and like I said, we've been going a little bit here, so we don't have to belabor it too much. But the United Healthcare CEO
Oh yeah.
that got whacked. Fascinating. I have not been able to stop thinking about this, like from so many different
I know
angles.
almost nothing about it, other than that there was the insurance CEO guy.
Yes.
And the company is really like rejects a lot of people's claims or whatever. So that someone killed the CEO because he was mad that they were like screwing over his family because his family needed something or something. Is that what it is?
I don't know how much it was like a
No?
family thing or anything like that.
The guy just hated the company.
I think it was just
The
sort
guy
of
came from
more.
a very rich family.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
But he had apparently like some history of like back issues
what I
or
thought it was.
something like that. So I don't know if there was like a connection there of like if he got
Rejected.
denied shit or something like that or
Yeah.
whatever. But
He's also alleged. Like, we don't know that he's, like, it's not proven that he's the shooter.
That's funny,
at
which
the
is a
moment.
whole other angle to this, which we don't have to get
Dude, I saw
into.
the- I
But
saw
like
the-
the conspiracy theories about it
Before
are
we-
insane.
Before we delve into it, I saw because he's like a muscular guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Oh, everybody wants to fuck him.
Yeah, no, as soon as I saw pictures of him and whatever, there was like a memes where it was like some like really popular YouTuber who's like a fitness influencer, and he's like, Luigi, natty or not? And he's like gonna see if he's a natural bodybuilder or not, or if he uses steroids.
Yeah.
And then the transition of the video happens where it's like really corny. Anyway,
I like the meme where, because the guy who allegedly did it, his name is Luigi. And
The
there was
Mario
a
thing.
post where it was like Nintendo's PR team is having such a bad year this
Yeah,
year,
yeah.
and it's a picture of Luigi, like the character, and Diddy Kong because of all the P Diddy shit.
Oh,
So it's like Nintendo's marketing team is having a
Diddy and
fucking
Luigi.
rough year this year.
Yeah.
But ignoring all the conspiracy stuff, because I think that's interesting, and like there's some parts of it that I think there's like maybe a little bit to it here or there. But the actual situation itself is so interesting to me because I was talking to Varsh about this. When I did the Schadenfreude topic many moons ago, in reference to the submarine thing, about the like three
Kind of a
or
similar
four
situation, I
rich
guess.
dudes and like the kid or whatever that was on the submarine. And my whole point was like everybody was cheering it on, and my whole thing in that topic was like, listen, I don't like these people either, and I understand why you don't like them, and we shouldn't like them collectively to some extent. But as far as I know, they weren't like this United Healthcare
But why
CEO
do we not?
guy.
Why do you not like the people? Because they're just rich. What was the idea of that?
Just that idea of like all the class issues and that like the idea of like the rich keep getting richer and the poor keep getting poorer and like my
I feel
whole
like that's not a
thing-
reason to hate people, is because they're really wealthy. You know what I'm saying?
not inherently, but like how it's obtained or how they like use that to like keep everybody else down. And that's I'll kind of get into that in a second here. But my whole thing was like, as far as I was aware with those people on the submarine, it's like they didn't do anything to you. They weren't out here denying insurance claims or like, Bill Burr has the joke about CEOs and rich people and like, trying to like buy air or whatever and like sell you oxygen and whatever. Like they weren't like these, mustache twirling evil rich people. And one of them was a kid. So to me, it was like, I get the spirit of this, but it's really dark and fucked up kind of thing.
Okay.
With this situation, though, I find myself almost not cheering it on. And let me be very clear about this. We here on Wildly Adequate do not encourage, endorse, or condone violence.
Of course not.
But there is like, I didn't feel bad,
Okay.
if that makes sense. I felt bad for like his wife and the guy's kids. And I'm not saying like he deserved to die or should have died or anything like that. And there's tons of that talk online right now, especially amongst like our demographic, like the Gen Z thing. Even Philip DeFranco was just talking about like all the polling they've done, and it's like the gap between like how much of Gen Z supports what this guy did compared to like all the other generations is like this big ass gap of it's our generation being like, yeah, fuck yeah, like I'm glad he did it, and like this guy's an activist and like fighting for the cause and all this shit. And to me, it's like, again, I don't want this to happen. I'm not saying it should happen, but like I found myself not feeling the same like thing with the submarine where it's like, come on guys, like these people aren't really doing anything to me or to you, where it's like I kind of get it in this case, not condoning it, not saying it should have happened, but like I understand, if that makes any sense.
Do you think it's? To me, I think like, did it even really? Is it even
I don't.
really do
Hold on.
anything?
I
Yeah.
don't understand.
What?
I don't understand. You said if it makes any sense. I'm saying no. It doesn't.
Wait, what doesn't
Which
make
part?
sense? Like the whole thing he was saying?
He's
He's not. That he doesn't.
I
Feel
get
as bad?
it. What do you get?
Like, let me phrase it this way.
Okay.
Right after it happened, and even I watched a Bill Burr clip where he was on his podcast talking about this, where like it felt like a lot of the coverage and the news stuff was people being like, we still don't know his motive, and like how could he have done this, and blah 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 blah. And it was all the shit. And Bill Burr made the thing of like, what do you fucking mean you can't get it? Like, this is somebody who is at the head of one of these companies that is like responsible for, like, as far as I'm concerned, there's blood on these people's hands kind of thing. Like, how do you not understand how somebody would be disgruntled enough to be like, no, fuck you, like, I'm taking you out kind of thing? Like, how do people not see that train of thought? And my thing is like, I get it. Like, I understand with the guy and like the online fervor. Again, not the people that are like calling for other CEOs to be fucking whacked and whatever. Like, it's Goodfellas. But like, I understand that sort of collective sentiment of like, not that they should die, but like, fuck these people who like run these insurance companies and fuck ordinary people and like get ordinary people killed and all this shit. I understand the train of thought is what I'm saying.
But to me,
Unlike the submarine thing where it was like, this is a class issue, which I understand that more so in this case. But in that case, it was like, it felt less direct. It just felt more like, oh, a rich person died, fuck him.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this is more of like a rich person with, again, Not that they deserve to die, but like reason for people to have umbrance with them. This happened to them kind of thing, and like we're celebrating that. I see the train of thought.
The weird thing to me is like, is this whole assassination thing gonna actually do anything? I feel like, you know what I'm saying? I feel like it's like again, in my opinion, like murdering someone is never gonna just be the answer to something. It's not gonna it's not gonna fix a situation or do anything other than like, get people talking about it and the conversation going. Maybe it'll change something because the company will feel pressure from the public to like, I don't know, not reject as many people or something. Maybe.
Well, what's funny is there was another company that I think like a day before it happened, something came out about them where they were gonna like stop paying for like parts of anesthesia and whatever
they took it
for
back.
like certain procedures, and then like the fucking day after it happened or a couple days later, they like reverse course on that immediately. I don't think it's going to like do anything literally. My hope though is that once tempers cool a little more, because there has been some of this, and this is my hope, and this is something I've said to you guys before in the past, is that like the shit people worry about on both sides of the aisle is all completely fucking meaningless. Like, to me, it's not about race. It's not about gender. It's not about who you want to fucking marry or
money.
anything like that. Yeah. It's who has all the shit and who has none of the shit. Like, that to me is the thing that I wish people focused on and cared about. And out of this, you have seen that sentiment from across the aisle. Like, even people were clowning on Ben Shapiro because he put out some video basically like kind of defending the CEO guy and being like, well, but this is what, companies like this do. And if there's things they aren't insuring and covering and blah, 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 blah. And like, we don't need the free healthcare and all this shit. And like, there were tons of people in his comments being like, either like, I'm a fan or I'm right wing or I'm this, that, and the other thing. But like, you're not making any sense on this. Like, we should have free healthcare, or like we should be, as like the middle class and the lower class, kind of like demanding more or expecting more out of the 1% and all the shit kind of thing. So my hope is that the change that comes from it, because I don't think it's gonna be, I don't think all the fucking CEOs are gonna like sit around and get together and be like shaking in their boots of like, oh god, we've got to like up security, or we better start doing what people want or we're gonna get whacked. I don't think it's that, although there's a little bit of that. My hope is that it's more of a like people starting to kind of wrap their heads around the idea of like, doesn't matter who you vote for, it doesn't matter all these other dumb social issues. Like, what matters is, the money and who's got the fucking money, and like, where does your healthcare come from and your retirement funds and like all this shit that in a normal decent society would be a given and like taken care of kind of thing, and not such a clusterfuck like it is in the States with healthcare.
What's fascinating to me is like whether people are going to look at the situation and the question is going to be like, was it worth it? Like, was it overall a net positive that he did this type thing? You know what I'm saying? I feel like that's going to be the moral conversation and debate that people are going to have. A lot of people might be like, it was good that he did it and it ended up causing this, and this good thing. But then to me, it's like, I can't see that and be like, feel happy about the death of somebody like that. You know what I'm saying?
That's the thing. Again,
I
let me
take
be
great.
clear. I'm not happy that it happened.
No, I'm not
like
saying
that.
you are. No, I'm just saying.
I'm just saying. My point before was just that, like, I understand the train of thought, and to me, it was like in the Bill Burr clip. It was like so odd to me that like some of the news media and that like people online and some of these pundits or whatever like couldn't wrap their head around the idea
why he might have done it.
That like somebody, an ordinary citizen, would get pushed to that point.
I don't know about the wording of understand the train of thought, to be honest with you. I kind of worries me like that phrasing, because what's the barrier? Like, let me give you an example. And I know you're not justifying murder or anything, but it's like to say okay, I get the train of thought. That can be applied in so many contexts. You know what I'm saying? For example,
like any CEO,
a big point of the election this time around was the border. Okay? And there was, there's a lot of people going across the border. some crimes were committed by people who were undocumented. So Joe Biden, does he have blood on his hands? And if so, like, would you get the train of thought of someone popping him? You know what I mean?
I don't know,
and
but
the
I think
greater
those are
point, and
slightly different
the
things.
greater point I'm trying to make here is, like, these are systems. You know what I mean? Like, free healthcare is a system in Canada. Privatized healthcare, partly insured by Medicaid. They have Medicaid, Medicare, and all that stuff. Those are systems in the United States.
So are you saying
So
like to not
one
blame,
shouldn't.
to blame an individual person to kind of try to work to change the system? Is what you're trying? Like
Well, this way of trying to effectuate change,
mm-hmm.
this is
It's
not to our conversation about first and third world countries. This is
Yeah.
not first world country
It's
behavior.
chaos. It's
no,
chaos. Yeah,
and that's what I'm saying. Again, at my core,
And the fact, and I didn't know what you said about Gen Z being like, oh, like, let's go Luigi Mangione. That scares the hell out of me.
Yeah.
I'll be completely
he
honest with you.
has become to a lot of people like
a hero.
a heroic figure of like somebody who stuck it to the man. And again, I'm not justifying that, and I don't even necessarily agree with it. But again, I understand that sentiment exists.
You know what I feel like a part of it is that the reason why Gen Z is so in favor of him is I feel like in any part of like history you can look at when any war was going on or any huge event happened that was really controversial. I feel like you're always gonna have like the youngest generation, the 18 to 24 kind of young people are gonna be more in general a little bit more radical and like activistic, I guess, like more activist type thing. So I feel like it makes sense that the young people are like, fuck yeah, dude, because like I feel like in general older people, they kind of get more moderate as they get older, and they don't have as much like kind of, I don't know, an energy for that sort of stuff.
And again, to me, like I said, it's not a justification or a condoning, and it's like, do I want all these changes and things to happen? Yes, but gunning a guy down in the street is not the way to do it. It's not going to be the way to do it. Like, all that times 1,000. But to me, it's just like the widespread sentiment that views this guy as like somebody who stuck it to the man. The fact that it has gone like across the aisle both ways, of both sides being like, you know, it's kind of like what we were saying earlier about like, yes, how the economy all over the place, but let's say Canada and America for now, or for example, isn't like in a great spot, let's say. To me, it's like, I could understand, again, our generation looking around and being like, I can't fucking afford anything. Like, the economy sucks. You know, the job market's whatever, yada, yada, yada. Like, insert a million reasons. The rich keep getting richer, and
but you know what?
we keep getting fucked, kind of thing. Oh, and here's someone who went and did this radical thing that, like, stuck it to the man, in quotes.
But you know what the
again.
problem is with
Here's the
that?
thing.
Can I just say something?
Go.
I feel like the problem with that is that like you're using like the specific guy that got killed of this. He's a specific CEO of a specific company, and you know what I'm saying? Like I feel like this general societal frustration that you're describing shouldn't be just pinned on one guy who happens to be a CEO of an insurance company who actually like. You know
No,
what I'm
it's
saying?
not all his fault.
And I'm not saying you're saying that. I'm just saying like I feel like what worries me about that situation is that like people are just gonna like try to take out CEOs just because they feel like it's the general representation of the man. You know what I'm saying?
Just to build on that point, part of what worries me as well is that there's no limiting principle to this.
Yeah.
There's no healthcare system in the world that will have 100% everyone lives.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So the people that die here in Canada because they had to wait 60 months for a procedure because there's such backed up lines. Our healthcare is like a mess. There's just waits everywhere. Should we pop the people in charge here? No, of course we shouldn't pop the people in charge here. You know what I'm saying? There's no limiting principle to this.
Again, I think there's
That's why
slightly
we should
different things, but I get what like you're driving at. Here's the thing to me though, because you're saying it worries you. If I were a betting man, and again, my hope out of this, I want to phrase this delicately.
Okay.
I don't think, like I said earlier, I made the joke of like, I don't think you're going to hear all the fucking CEOs of like the healthcare industry or pharmaceutical or whatever company in the States like get together shaking in their boots of like, oh God, we got to do something or we're going to be whacked. But I think that there should be like a worry or a fear amongst the 1% or whatever. Not like a literal fearing for their lives, like, oh, now I'm going to get whacked in the street, but like a fear of, change or like fixing things and whatever. And that hopefully not only drives, ordinary people in society to sort of band together and realize like, oh, it's not about race, gender, this, that, the other thing. It is about class. And hopefully that is also mirrored in people at the top being like, oh shit, like
a re-examining.
There is this unrest. There is, yes, and like a re-examining and kind of like a look in the mirror of like, what can be done to sort of fix things.
And what you're saying
That's
is
the kind of worry that I hope some of them get. Not a literal like I'm fearing for my life, but to me it's like what I phrased it to Varsh as, and of course she hasn't seen it, so she missed my reference, but I don't know if you guys remember in The Dark Knight Rises, and I forget the line, so I'm not even going to bother trying to quote it, but it'll be a rough paraphrasing. But Catwoman has a moment when she's, I think it's when she's got like Ben Mendelsohn's character, whoever, but she's got like some big, rich, important guy or whatever. And she has that whole like exchange with him where I forget what the direct quote is, but she says something along the lines to him of like, you took so much kind of thing and left so little for the rest of us, and like the point she gets at is like eventually like we were going to come for you kind of thing, or, that sentiment. To your worry, I think that is a very real sentiment. And the worse things get for everybody, while they continue to see people at the top not affected, if anything, doing better, I wouldn't be surprised if like this wasn't the only thing, is what I'm saying.
So this whole, whenever we have this conversation about classes, I always have a hard time with this, like, things are going bad and we're looking at the people at the top and like blaming them for everything that's going bad with the middle class. You know what I mean? I have a hard time with that. I feel like
I agree. Yeah.
I feel like one of the things that's like good about the West is this idea of class mobility. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
My parents got here, started at the bottom. Now we're here. Personally, I have aspirations to keep going higher. You know what I mean? So
everybody does.
Everybody does. So
I think the question for a lot of people is like, why
so
are
this
they
idea of demonizing.
Yeah.
So let me put you in my train of thought right now. So am I going to be demonizing where I want to be? You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to be up towards the top. So, okay, if I'm going to demonize where I want to be, why am I demonizing it? And how exactly is it their fault? And if all this is true, why would I even want to go there?
Well, here's the thing. First of all, what you're saying makes a lot of sense. I think some people have the thought of like, oh, but if I got to that place, like, I'd be one of the good ones. Like, I wouldn't be fucking, dumping oil in the local pond just for kicks kind of thing. Like, I wouldn't be Mr. Burns. Like, I'd be, one of the good ones. I think there's that sentiment. I would disagree that there isn't a lot of blame to be put on people at the top, whether that's like economically or in like a power thing, like with politicians and shit. Because to me, it's like, you guys are the ones running the show. So if things are fucked for everybody else, like, to me, the blame is.
So you're saying the politicians are part of the one. So you have to. So are you talking about rich people?
I think it's
a lot of politicians aren't like the rich people you're referring to, right?
I think it's two-folded. I think it's the Venn diagram of like the wealthy and then the powerful in the politicians, and then whatever middle ground.
What about like business?
So
what about like business people, like people who are like very wealthy because of a business that they created, type thing, like
a Jeff Bezos or like that's just the extreme end.
Or say someone like fucking who's the guy who's like a big philanthropy guy who's from Microsoft, Bill Gates, like people like that who like do a lot of like humanitarian stuff. Like those people, how could you blame them for stuff?
Just to make your statement more precise, to me at least, I feel like there should be like a specific. We should be speaking on specific people. Yeah. We shouldn't say
it's not that it's like a blanket
1%.
thing. There are politicians out there that like I think have a genuine, like, everybody clowned on that Tim Walz guy, Harris's VP pick, as being like, whatever, and a bad politician. But like, one of the things that he talked about in a lot of interviews is I think he was Minnesota. Like
He's
how
the governor.
he passed a thing that made like school lunches for kids free. And like a thing. It's like he strikes me as somebody who is way more genuine than like a lot of people on either side of the aisle in politics, for example. So it's not to say that there aren't like, I'm not saying like get rid of all of them. Like there are a Bernie Sanders even is like somebody who strikes me as like somebody who genuinely gives a shit. Just like there are billionaires and whatever rich people out there that like care or whatever, do the, you know, philanthropy route and whatever. It's not like necessarily every single thing. I am painting with a bit of a broad brush.
Okay.
But to me, it's like there's definitely a lot of blame to be passed that way.
And I would agree with you. Well, because you clarified, you said you were also talking about politicians. I didn't realize you were talking about politicians as well. Which makes sense. Like these are the people who are running our government.
But my thing is like, and a lot of them are like bought and paid for by
lobbyists,
rich people and lobby. Like, so to me, it's all just one big ugly fucking
but I think
thing, you know?
I think to echo something that Patrick was saying, I feel like the scary part is being way too vague or general about it. Because then it's like, again, demonizing a whole entire huge group of people, right?
It's demonizing a whole group of people. And then just the other trip up I have with it is the fact that I am personally someone who would like to keep building my own family's wealth.
But
right?
again, this is the other thing I was going to get at.
And if we make our society, if we look at our society from like everyone who's in the 1% is bad, then it just feels like we're moving towards like I don't want to say the word communist, but like that's what communism is about, right? It's about like the class.
But to me,
and
the difference is it's not the communist thing, it's the more socialist angle. And to me, it's like you're coming at it from a currently middle class perspective.
That's right.
Of like, yeah, I'd like to keep going and wind up wealthier and blah blah blah.
From a currently middle class perspective, yeah.
To me, it's like the counterpoint to that, and where the demonization comes in, or not even so much, but just like the anger and like annoyance with, you know, the top or whatever, is if it's somebody who's in like a lower class or poor position.
I think
who doesn't even want, like you're saying, hey, I'm middle class right now and I aspire to be.
No, but he started lower. Like my family started really low. Like my dad worked at a fucking Pizza Hut when he first came to Canada, and Patrick was saying his family when they came here, they weren't just automatically middle class. So lower class people were aspiring as well.
Sure, but what I'm saying with the lower class angle is there are people in those situations right now who don't care to be in the 1%. Like obviously, if you just walked up to them and were like, "Here's $10 billion," I'm not saying that, but I'm saying what they're trying to do is get to where you're at now.
Okay,
that's the aspiration
for them.
And when they look around and see shit and how people at the top do fuck them, the politicians and the rich, that's what builds that sentiment of like, what the fuck?
Yeah, but how do you
Elon Musk has the richest guy to ever exist ever, and I'm here with jack shit. And I'm not saying it's necessarily Elon Musk's job to like do that, but when you have people in Elon Musk like positions of money, wealth, influence, power, whatever, who do shit to like actively fuck over the people at the bottom of the ladder, it's like that's
like, how do you prevent that though? I feel.
What did Elon Musk do to actively fuck people at the bottom of the ladder?
I'm not even saying him specifically, for example, but I'm just saying like people like him
when
in those positions who do shit like, you know, we're not gonna do free healthcare every time that passes. We're gonna, or like gets brought up, we're gonna do it. We're not gonna do anything. Again, this is speaking very much about the states, but it's like we're not gonna pass fucking, you know, gun reform anything, because it's like then we have the NRA and their lobbyists up our ass being like, no, here's all this money and, you know, keep the guns going kind of thing.
Yeah, but I feel like the general sentiment is like that this isn't, it's not fair, right? It's all
yes,
about,
to me it's like the general sentiment is the system is fucked and the system is broken.
But the thing is like, how can this sort of anger and frustration that's built up be fixed in any sort of way? Do you know what I'm saying? I feel like just blaming these people isn't going to do anything. You know what I'm saying?
I don't think blaming them does anything, but my point, what we were just saying is like, I get the blame and I think there is plenty of justification in the blame. In terms of how you do that, it isn't start whacking these people.
Yeah.
I'm just saying if you push people enough, it goes there. I mean, fucking time in memoriam will tell you that. To me, it's like the right way to do it is you vote people, you know, you should have had a Bernie Sanders president kind of thing, like somebody who is clearly much more of like a socialist and I think cares and whatever. You shouldn't have, not even that he would have won, but like, you know, the Democratic Party very clearly fucked him over to put Clinton in there, and we all saw how that turned out kind of thing. And talk about an unliked politician who doesn't strike me as somebody who gives a shit. Like, what the fuck were they thinking with her? But that's neither here nor there. So to me, it's just like, that is how you do it. You do it the like
For sure.
democratic
You vote.
right way to do it
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of thing.
For sure.
And you go after some of these rich people. Yes,
that's the
you
proper-
get a
that's the
Bernie
proper
Sanders
way,
in
yeah.
there
Yeah, yeah.
who will go to some of these rich cocksuckers and be like, hey guys, we're taxing, you know, X amount of percent, whatever it is, and we're pumping it into education and healthcare and housing and this and that and the other thing. But this is what I'm saying, where it's like, put those, your Elon Musks, your whoever, actively fight against that. So it's like that builds this tension. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or
I
if
know
you're
what you
somebody,
mean, but-
if you're somebody who like works at Amazon, for example, like I could see them making the argument of like, well, why are we making minimum wage or whatever when Jeff Bezos is this like uber rich guy? Like he could quadruple all of our salaries, improve all these people's, you know, quality of lives and all this shit, but like chooses not to, kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't really sympathize with those kind of arguments. Like when I see people like an Elon Musk or like a Jeff Bezos, I hear the other argument, which is that these guys are innovators and they grow their companies and they make jobs and they make wealth by innovating and by making new things. That's where their money is going. Well, I mean, of course they're also rich, but like again, like if you quadruple all of everyone's salaries, you know what I'm saying? Then where's the money going to go for innovation? Like, where's that going to come from? These people...
But you're making it sound like it's one or the other. With these people, it's not. For
Are
Jeff Bezos to do that
It wouldn't make a dent.
would
you're saying?
not make a dent in, like, what he has. Like, he wouldn't be sitting... I'm telling you right now, Jeff Bezos is not staring up at the ceiling at night being like, man, I could keep investing in, like, this space shit that I'm doing, or I could pay everybody, you know, way better kind of thing. It's like, no, he has the capacity to do both.
It's still something I think about. I'm not
To
there.
me, let
to be
me
honest
put it
with
this
you.
way. To
I'm
me,
not there.
I know that like more right-leaning people, for example, would disagree with this, but to me, it's like my argument is simply that from like a base human level, I don't understand or cannot sympathize or just cannot put my head in the space of a Bill Gates, a Jeff Bezos, an Elon Musk, and to sit there and be like, I have so much money that I could just give it away. I'm not saying to like everybody in the country, but it's like I could just, or, you know, I know Bill Gates, we said, does the philanthropy thing, but it's like I could, you know, pay every single person at this company like way more money than they're making now and like change all these lives and do all this shit and blah, blah, blah. But I choose not to. I just can't
The reason why I'm hesitant,
get in that headspace.
The reason why I'm hesitant with that line of thinking is because there's a lot I don't understand with regards to economics and business. Like, for example, my understanding is a lot of Elon Musk's wealth is in stock. So is he going to sell all of his stock, lose control of his company just to pay his, you know what I'm saying? And I'm saying this at risk of sounding ignorant because
well,
I
this
don't
whole
really
thing is from all three of us. It's a bit of a layman's thing. Like
Yeah.
it's not.
Yeah, I don't really feel
We're
like
not
that's part of the
experts.
conversation.
Yeah. So in that example, like people have their wealth in, it's not just money sitting in a bank.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
You're saying it's more
So-
complicated than just them giving it away.
I would
assume that it's more
I would
complicated.
assume it's more complicated than
I
just
would
that. So
assume
there's
so.
the angle of like
Yeah, yeah.
where is their wealth?
I've
How is their wealth
dude, yeah.
presented? And then there's the angle of what are their aspirations? What are the ways in which they are making people's lives better in
That
that
we
they're
don't know
creating
about.
jobs, in that,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
they're innovating, they're creating products that benefit people. You know what I'm saying?
And I think
Like there's
Sure.
different ways to look
And
at
I
it
think
than just like a okay, how much am I getting paid?
I feel like
you know
that,
what I mean?
I feel like that same argument of like how can we like why aren't these rich assholes just getting rid of world hunger? Like why don't they just give all the money that's needed to? And I feel like it's more complicated than just throwing money at it. What you're saying, you're saying it's not even like a more complicated issue. It's just like why not just give them straight up money?
Well, no,
like,
most things you can't just throw money at every problem and expect
but
it
for paying people
to
more,
like
it would
go
seem
away.
like it's just like a
But that to me is a specific
Straightforward.
example where like yes,
Should
you
be.
put more money in
bank account.
more people's pockets and more
Yeah.
people's bank accounts,
Yeah.
and that improves their lives.
Yeah.
You know, by whatever
The thing is,
percent.
I feel like I can't. When you're saying like they're choosing not to, like I feel like I don't know that they are choosing not to. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I feel
But
like
then why not?
well, that's the thing we don't know. I would assume that it just feels weird for me to assume that all these rich people, however many of them there's many billionaires out there. It feels weird for me to just assume that they're all assholes who don't want to share. Do you know what I'm saying? I feel like there's got to be some part of it that's a logistical issue, or that's like Patrick was saying with the stocks, or I don't know. I have no idea. I feel like we're talking about, like you said, in layman, like we're layman, but like I can't imagine being in that scenario and how to even handle that, and who knows how many people are playing around with their money. You know what I'm saying? I feel like I like Patrick was saying, I doubt it's like a really easy, straightforward thing. Because I think if it was, most people are naturally kind people. I don't think that they would just withhold it. For
I
no
guess,
reason,
but to me, there's also something to be said at like it takes a certain kind of person
to that point?
to get to that point.
Maybe.
And either you started out that way or you became that way like along the way. Like you might have started out with the best of intentions.
But the question is it unfair that they got to that point? Do you know what I'm saying? Or is it like
it depends on the situation. When you're like
What?
an Apple and you're building your shit in like fucking slave camps practically in China and paying people shit and putting nets on the bottom of your building so that when they try to kill themselves they can't.
Yeah, but I want the new iPhone so bad.
Well, exactly.
One more layer to it, I think, as well, is like the value of labor, like the value of what someone is
Brings.
doing. You know what I mean? And I know it's arbitrary in a sense.
Sure. Well, yes, more business minded and whatever people would make that argument of like, well, why am I going to pay
Some manufacturing guy.
like guy in a warehouse doing Amazon stuff? Why am I going to pay him $250,000 a year just to do that? And I'm like, I get that to some extent.
And I think that's part of, you said it takes a certain kind of person, right, to get to that point. And I think that is something important. Like we need to be efficient. So I'm building a company.
Not a charity organization.
To make I'm building a company to make money, right? Sell product. We're gonna employ people, and we like, you know what I'm saying? Like you can't just be a charity. You know what I'm saying?
But I get that. But
Yeah.
you know, when Apple's starting in like Steve Jobs and Wozniak's garage,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, I get that. But when you're Apple today,
Yeah.
when you're Bezos, Musk, Gates today,
yeah.
and it's like you're not, you know, scrapping in the trenches anymore. Like you've done it. You have. To
Yes.
me, it's like
Yes.
you've made it to the top of the mountain.
And I agree with you. I understand what you're saying. The only thing that I will ask that you think about, and you've given me quite a bit to think about, is like we don't know exactly how the money's moving.
Sure.
Like,
again, it's obviously way more complicated.
Apple's releasing products every year. They're trying to make stride, and Elon Musk, he's making these robots and stuff. Like, where's this money going? In my mind, you're of a different mind. Of where I'm sitting, it looks like they're trying to innovate, and they're investing a lot of money in not just product, but people who are coming up with this product and designing.
Well,
you know what I'm saying?
let me give you an example with Musk specifically.
Sure.
People will give him shit and be like, "Oh, he's spending all this money on like SpaceX and like going to Mars and all this shit." And it's like, but what about all the people down here? And again, to me, it's like he can have his cake and eat it too. That's my point. My point is just that like, and again, obviously it's more complicated, but my point is that like, no, we should want. I mean, I just wish people cared more and the government spent its money better and like put it into NASA like they did in the fucking 60s when they were trying to get to the moon. But to me, it's like we should want somebody like that who is going to be like, I'm going to take us to Mars. Here's the fucking electric car. You know, here's these weird fucking tunnels I'm going to dig to like help with traffic and whatever. Here's
What's
Steve
the Wi-Fi
Jobs.
thing called? Starlink.
Starlink.
There's
Here's
Starlink.
Steve Jobs coming out and being like, I've never used it, but
Dude,
I hear it's
fantastic.
fantastic.
Even I saw a clip of Rogan talking about it and how it's this little tiny tripod thing that you put up there, and it has like this little like almost what do you call it? Solar panel looking thing on it.
Yeah.
And he has like this tiny thing. He literally went hiking in the middle of nowhere where there's no service anywhere, and he just put it down, and everyone had high-speed Wi-Fi, like high-speed internet. And we were looking into, I think Patrick and I were looking at it online. It's like really expensive, and you got to pay like the thing itself isn't that expensive, but then there's like huge monthly fees and stuff. And I'm sure like with all these things, like with electric cars, like the more the years that go by, it'll go cheaper and shit. But yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff that they're doing. But
I get the thing. It's like, and here's Steve Jobs coming and being like, and here's the fucking iPhone, and you know, Bill Gates being like, and here's Windows, and like, you want these people who are like the innovators and are gonna like push all the shit. It's like, you want that kind of thing. My thing is just like, you can have your cake and eat it too. Now that you've gotten to the top of the hill kind of thing, keep innovating, keep doing all your shit, but it's like, you can do that while also giving back. And even not like the wages thing, the fact that like, again, all these rich people refuse to be like taxed more than they could be. That to me, again, is a thing of like, you have so much that you could be taxed more, and that it could go to things that would benefit everybody, like education, or, you know, whatever else you want to fucking dump the money into. And so to me, it's just like, again, I'm not saying that it's like, you know, I know even some people float the idea across that like, should billionaires even exist, or like all this thing. It's like, I'm not even that in the weeds on it. To me, it is more just the thing of like, and I'm not saying the guy who's like started a small business and is making like $1 million a year, like, yeah, he's well off. Could he help his employees out a little bit more, or this, that, the other thing? Could he be taxed a little bit more? Sure. But to me, it is more like the top of the hill 1%, you know, the people with more money than fucking all of human history combined kind of thing. It's like, those are the people that I look at personally frustrated by, and sympathetic to people at the bottom of the ladder. That frustration of like, you could do more kind of thing, and it's not that you have to take it all away and give all of it back, or any like stupid thing.
I was gonna
like
say,
that.
where's the line on
it's
that?
It's like, you can continue to do SpaceX and continue to go to Mars while at the same time doing shit to like help everyone collectively. And to me, I just look at it as like,
and that
a
message
high tide raises all boats kind of thing.
And that message is directed to people who are very rich and don't do anything for anyone else.
Yeah, then we're assuming that they're not doing anything.
That's
right?
who your message is directed to, right?
That
People
aren't
who are
already
very
doing-
rich and who don't do anything for anyone else, right?
I mean, sure, but even like a Bill Gates, for example, it's like, that's great that he does all the philanthropy and all that stuff. So it's like, I'm not saying he would be like my first target. It would be a conversation of like, could we do a little more? Or is there anything else we can do here? Like, maybe we talk,
but we don't
maybe
know.
we have that conversation.
But we don't even know.
He wouldn't be like my first, you know, I wouldn't be going to him, or even any of these people we'd mentioned. I'd be going to like the fucking oil tycoons and all these assholes who like, you know, do all this shit to destroy the planet. Like, those would be the first people that I would be going to if I was in one of these positions, and knocking on their door of like,
You know,
hey, we're taking whatever the percentage of is in taxes, and like, we're gonna put it into, you know, education or healthcare or any of these things.
you know what's interesting, when I feel like I hear these conversations, and you saying like, what else can they do and what more can they do? To me, it's like, what, we don't even know what they're already doing, because they might be a lot of these people might be doing a lot already that we just don't know about. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I guess,
like, how many fucking projects and humanitarian things does Bill Gates do? Probably a shit ton. I don't know half of them, but like, I know that he does a lot of stuff with vaccines in Africa or whatever he was doing, and this and that. Like, I feel like it's a weird subjective thing of like, where you're gonna draw the line. Like, how much are they can they give before you're like, okay, that's pretty good for you, and then, you know what I'm saying? I feel like it's a very subjective thing, and how can you tell someone that you owe this much? It's like, how do you calculate that number? And also, it's like, how can you force someone to do that? You can't. So it's like, you kind of just hope that they, out of the kindness of their hearts, that they do that sort of stuff more. I understand with the taxing thing, because then it's like the government's forcing them to just pay a bigger chunk. Like, I understand that. But in terms of like the charity thing, like, the point of charity is that it's not supposed to be like mandated. You know what I'm saying?
well, I'm not so much concerned about the charity thing. For me, it is a more like applicable thing of like the taxes thing,
Sure.
or the wages thing.
That's
of,
a very
like,
specific-
here's like a specific concrete example
See,
of
I
like,
like that more. Because
we're
it's-
going to come to you as the government.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
the problem is, and this is why it's just the politicians are just fucking guilty, because there's all these fucking loopholes and all the shit everybody pulls to get out of all this shit.
Yeah.
Like, Chappelle mentioned it in one of his SNL appearances where like he thought it was like the coldest fucking moment anybody had ever done when Hillary and Trump were debating, and Hillary was like, he cheats on his taxes and whatever, and Trump was like, yeah, I do, and so do all your fucking friends. So if you want me to pay your taxes, you and all your friends have to start paying your fair share and change the fucking tax code so that we all pay it. He's like, but you won't because you benefit from it just like I do. And Chappelle talks about like that, for example, is why you have people in like poorer parts of the US fucking worshiping this guy, because it's like, when the fuck has a politician ever said something like that of like
and expose it,
of like exposing it, of like, now people leave out the part where he admits to fucking doing it too, but it's like, when has someone ever, people see that and it's like, that's what gravitates people in that specific instance to someone like him, is that he goes in and is like, yeah, the shit you think is going on behind closed doors, yes, it's all happening. They're all fucking bought off and paid for and corrupt and blah, blah, blah. Again, he pretends like he isn't, which is when people miss the forest for the trees. But it's like, that message is appealing. Even though I fucking hate him, I hear that message and I'm like, yeah, he is right. Like, you're just as guilty, Clinton and all these other Democratic people, for not paying. Like, fucking Nancy Pelosi made a shitload of money off of like all these like stocks and all this stuff because they have all this fucking knowledge of all this stock market shit going on. And it's like, and none of them are ever going to change it, Democratic or Republican, because they all fucking benefit from it. So they're just as guilty on all the shit. But to the main point, the taxes thing to me is like a specific applicable example
it's a clear
where
message,
it is like, hey, we're going to go to an Elon Musk and we're going to take whatever the money is, either dollars or percent. And sure, it's arbitrary to an extent, but to me, it's like, I would rather an arbitrary 10% than just saying, well, we're not going to do anything because it's arbitrary, or we're going to leave it at, I don't know what the fuck it is now, but let's just say it's like
but
5.
I think that's more.
for
I think that's
example.
way more reasonable than just saying like these people should and can do more. It's like, yeah, but to me, that it's not reasonable to like force them to do more in terms of charity. But yeah, in terms of taxing, I feel like that's actually like a, you know, when they say like make your goals very specific and like, you know, very attainable.
Yes.
I feel like those are attainable things. I don't know how attainable they are because I know you're saying like politicians and these rich people make it really
do
hard to
everything
make
they can to get out of it. And that's where my frustration
yeah.
comes from, the sense of like, this isn't like a passive thing. This is like choice.
It's a barrier to entry,
of like putting barriers up for this and moving the goalposts. But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Where to me, it's like, it's a simple train of thought of like, stick with healthcare, for example, of like, okay, healthcare's fucked. We could use some more money. Not that throwing money at everything fixes everything, but it's like, we could use more money to get more clinicians in and doctors and nurses, or get more hospitals, or try and decrease, well, like all these things we could fix with this if we can get some more money into this. Okay, we're going to go to the people with everything. We're going to not make a dent in them, because again, I'm not saying we have to fucking take
half their stuff,
$200 billion from Elon Musk, but it's like, but we're going to take some of this and we're going to put it into these things and we're going to try and make them better. That to me is like all I'm asking for, of like, you know, there's a problem. Here's a way that we can not entirely fix it, let's say, but here's how we can like improve it, fix it,
and
make
still,
it better.
and still without affecting the rich
without
person's
affecting
bottom
the
dollar.
fucking rich person's bottom dollar. Like, we can do this. And like, to me, it's just, again, I know it's a very like naive, optimistic thing, but it's, to me, it's like, that's how it should, that's how it should be on all fronts. It should be the people at the bottom being like, we're being I mean, there shouldn't be a bottom to begin with, but it's like, we're at the bottom, we're being underserved, we need this fixed, blah, blah, blah.
Like,
the politicians go, you're right, you've elected us to help and serve, kind of thing.
Yeah.
We're going to do this. And the fucking richest people at the top being like, yes, I have more money than is comprehensible to any normal person. So yes, take some of it to go help my fellow man.
I was about to say, I don't blame the rich people for not just volunteering that and being like, yeah, I'll give way more. Here, take way more. You know what I'm saying?
But I
feel like,
do, to an extent.
sure,
I get what
you would
you're
hope
saying.
you would hope that they, out of the kindness of their hearts, that they don't need that much money. Like, that's ideal for sure. But I feel like the blame is more on the politicians that. And I know you're saying the politicians are intertwined with all these 1%ers and stuff, but I feel like ultimately, like, the politicians could get it done. So everyone should be more angry with the politicians that they're not figuring it out by taking these bribes or whatever.
I
you know what I'm saying?
You're right, and I get what you're saying, but to me, it's just a thing of like I look at it more hand in hand of like
It has to be a whole
if
change.
the people, if the not the politicians, but like if the wealthy people wanted to, they would,
could.
and the fact that they don't
Yeah.
isn't because like it's not a passive like I forgot
Sure,
to
yeah.
pay my fair
they're doing
share
it
of
on
taxes.
purpose. I get it,
It's like
yeah.
no, I have all my money stored in
Yeah.
offshore shit
Yeah.
to benefit from these
But it's like-
loopholes that I don't have to.
but it's
So
like
to me,
as-
it's like
as
I get what you're
business-
saying.
Yeah, yeah.
But my thing is just like I am more like antagonistic with it of
Yeah,
like you could, you don't. That's a choice
Yeah.
that like has effects kind of
You know, it's
thing.
I think about it in the same way that when you watch like a movie like the Batman, take the Batman movie. We're gonna go back to superheroes real quick.
Okay.
You remember
Bring
how
this
like
full
the
circle.
Falcone was paying off the cops and whatever?
Yes.
Yeah.
To me, it's like, yeah, Falcone's a horrible person. He's a criminal and whatever. But like, the cops are supposed to prevent that. Like,
Yes.
the politicians are supposed to be the representatives of the people. So it's like, yeah, the rich people and yeah, the criminals in this case. And when I'm talking about the Batman, like, are at fault. They're a big part of the problem. But like, the solution is the representatives, is the government, is the cops, and they're blowing it. You know what I'm saying? Just I guess I don't know. The reason would be to maintain whatever partnerships they got going on and the money and whatever. But I feel like I as a person would be more upset that the people that are supposed to represent us aren't doing these reasonable changes.
Yes. And again, you are 100% correct.
Yeah, yeah.
My thing is just like, I get what you're saying, and the Batman thing is a good comparison of just like, yeah, it's like, yes, they're the criminals,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's like, but you're supposed to be, you know,
I'm more mad at
The
I'm more
moral-
mad at the supposed good guys.
yeah,
you know
like
what I'm
you're
saying?
supposed to be kind of the moral
Yeah, yeah.
center, but you're
Exactly.
letting them kind of get to you. That is
like how can you blame criminals for being criminals? How can you blame rich people for wanting to stay rich? You know what I'm saying? Like I know,
yes,
yeah, but
you're right. I just look at it still as like,
Still
to me,
frustrating.
it's just like I'm saying equal blame. Maybe it's different. You know, it's a 50 or a 60-40 thing, whatever. But to me, it's like, I'm just saying, to me, it's like, no, you're both sides of this like
Are to
are
blame.
dropping the ball here. The
Yeah.
politicians in the sense of like the human side and like the hey, here's what you're supposed to be kind of thing, and the rich people from a similar human side,
Yeah.
and like there's no expectation of what they should be.
Sure.
For me, it is more just the like human argument.
and I think
of,
that
like,
a lot of these uber rich people, a lot of them are good people, a lot of them are bad people. Just like with anybody, it's very gray, right? Like there's not. I guess it's not as black and white as we'd like to think it is, but I feel like this exact thing that you're describing is why a lot of uber rich people have a shit ton of initiatives to help people, is because they feel like they need to give back and they want to give back, and that makes me feel hopeful and good about humanity that so many people are doing that. But it does feel like shit when you look at people who could be doing so much and they're doing nothing. But the thing is, like, we're just guessing that they're doing nothing. Like, who knows what these people are actually doing and not doing behind closed doors type thing. And then you have like people. It always annoys me when people donate. Like Bill Gates donated $100 million to this. It's like, didn't even make a dent in his bank account. Like, give more. And it's like, who are you to tell him to give a little bit more? He just gave a shit ton of money. That shit annoys me because he's trying, he's doing. But the people that are, just trying to hold on to their money and not doing anything, I understand that frustration a lot. And I think that politicians should force these people to try to give back more. You know, it makes sense.
yeah, I don't know.
I,
That's a
again,
whole thing.
I've never really thought about. I know some people are really against rich people being taxed way more. I think that, like you're saying, when it comes to like the business owner who has a few $1 million a year or whatever, like I don't want to see him getting taxed to
Yeah.
the point where he can't grow anymore.
Like,
But
leave
the-
that guy alone.
but the
That's
people
not
are, like,
who I'm talking
who have
about.
like $500 billion. It's like, yeah, you can afford to get a little chunk taken
That's
out.
what I'm
A little
saying.
chunk.
Yeah, it's like I'm not, like leave
5%.
because it's not
Take
that
5%.
because it's also it's not like I want to discourage entrepreneurs
yeah.
or anything like
No, of
that,
course.
and it's like and it's not that everybody shouldn't be striving to make all kinds of money. It's like it's none of that kind of thing. It's more just to me. It's like
an ungodly amount of money.
yeah, like it gets to a point where it's like
you can.
at
yeah.
what point does everybody collectively kind of sit around
Come
and be
on,
like
man.
exactly like
Yeah.
at what point does everybody
What are we
kind of be
doing
like
here?
all right like
There's literally people like homeless because they couldn't afford groceries this month. Or whatever,
Exactly.
or starving because they couldn't. And it's like.
and again and it's like and that's the shit that builds
Yeah.
resentment and it manifests unfortunately in United Guy getting whacked.
Just
But
one last
not
point.
justified.
Not
Just
justified, but
one
it's
last
like, but
point.
that's where that leads.
That's where the
to
frustration.
extremes.
Just one
And
last.
that's why he's saying I think he gets where it's coming from.
Okay.
Right. The buildup of it, but not justifying that it should happen or whatever.
Just one last point,
Mm.
and then if I may suggest we segue out of this and wrap.
We
Yeah,
this
can't
up.
because this went way longer than I thought. We haven't
the
gone
last
this long
point
in a
I want to
while.
make is, sure, you can explain and I guess explain is the only word to use here. Sure, you can explain people's behavior and say, yeah, building this much resentment might lead to this happening, but as a society, we shouldn't celebrate it.
No, of course not.
Like,
No.
sure, these conditions might lead to this, but in no world do I want to be celebrating it. I think
No.
I want to discourage it.
100%.
You know what I'm saying? And then also work to
there should never
address
be
the conditions
I feel like
as
there
well. You
should-
can't just,
Yeah,
you know
Yes.
what I'm saying?
I agree, and I think there should never be a situation where people are encouraging someone to be murdered. I mean,
Yeah.
unless we're talking about like Hitler
Yeah,
or something like
obviously.
a war criminal,
Somebody
like,
who's like truly, you know,
Yeah,
legitimately
for sure. But
evil.
someone who's running a legal business and doing this and that, and yeah, you think they're a scumbag. It's like we can't encourage the murder of these people.
Yeah, again, I'm not one for like anarchy or any
Yeah,
of this
yeah.
shit. It's just like, to me, it's like,
It's indicative of a frustration, right?
it's indicative of a frustration that, again, I understand. But I don't like that it boils over in something like this. My worry, though, to your point, though, is I think some people naively see something like this happen and go like, oh, wow, that's crazy, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Whereas, like, I personally look at it where it's like, I don't have a good metaphor for this, but stick with me. For me, it's like if you were in like a really dry forest that hasn't had water for a long time and you see a quick little spark of something. And I think the people that saw that spark in this instance and went like, oh, that was like a little thing, wasn't that weird? To me, I look at it more with a certain amount of like, I don't know if abrasive is the right word, or like apprehension, or just sort of like a tenseness of like seeing the spark and being like,
the whole
did that
forest
just,
almost.
yeah, like did that just, like did that
trigger something.
trigger
Yeah.
something more
Yeah.
is my kind of worry. And again, to me, it's just like, all I'm saying is pick up a history textbook. When shit gets bad enough, that's when you have, you know, people marching fucking guillotines up to like government buildings kind of thing. And when shit goes,
do you feel like
real.
Do you feel like ultimately, even though you don't condone this or think it's a good or think it's like a supported thing, you feel like at the very least the silver lining is that it gets these companies to reflect and potentially make changes type thing?
Well, like I said before, my assumption is if things keep going the way they're going,
Yeah.
I would not be surprised if shit like this becomes more common, like more dystopian in that sense, and it starts becoming less of a thing where it's like, hey, billionaire United CEO prick, and it becomes like, hey, business guy who's making $1 million a year, bang. I don't want that at all, but to me it's like, I get
You're saying at some
the
point
pessimist in me and the
Yeah, yeah.
cynicism in me sees this as like not a one and done, but as like just a tiny little crack in the wall,
and the dam's gonna blow up.
but not not like the last kind of thing. My silver lining, like I said in the beginning, is the hope on the two-sided hope. The hope that it reaches some amount of humanity, whatever fucking shriveled up Grinch heart is in some of these people, to like reevaluate things. And on the side of more like, you know, the general population, it gets people more talking and thinking about this and less about like, you know, oh, fucking Snow White's being played by Rachel Zegler, who's not like some traditional white girl or whatever.
Or-
like, what the fuck?
Or Megan
kinda
Thee
thing.
Stallion twerking at
Yeah,
the
or
Kamala rally.
Megan Thee Stallion's twerking at a Kamala rally, you know, or fucking, oh, this trans person got elected into government. Like, my hope is that it gets people to kind of, you know, lock in a little bit and like
Okay.
look at themselves internally and be like, oh, on both sides of the aisle, I shouldn't be worried about like, you know, XYZ, blah, 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 all these like, so, and I'm not saying don't care about social issues or if you see injustice and all this shit, but it's like, I shouldn't be worried that, you know, they recast a traditionally white thing as a person of color or like, you know, or vice versa in the situation. I should be more worried about and more conscientious of like, oh, I hope my kids have, you know, can actually buy a house. Or I hope that, you know, I'm somebody kind of barely making ends meet, and if I have like a fucking life-altering medical incident, that I'm not like
Yeah,
fucked
covered
after
for
it.
it, yeah.
Like, that's my
And
hope
it's
in
interesting
all
On
of
that
it.
it's like, yeah, you go ahead.
Sorry, I was gonna take us out of this.
Oh, I was
You
gonna
wanna
say one last
something?
thing where
Yeah.
when Maddie was saying it earlier, I feel like if things get really, really bad or bad enough,
Mm-hmm.
like there are gonna be consequences from it, and this guy doing this evil act, if you want to call it that, just
Is a
kill-
consequence.
it is like it's indicative of like the general frustration, and then if things get really bad, you could see it more and more and more and more until eventually like something has to be done, like something's got to give, where these companies or whatever are gonna have to make changes, or else it's gonna get worse and worse and worse. So I think I'm sure what you're hoping for is that it doesn't ever get to that point.
Yes.
And that these people see shit like this and go like, okay, like this is we gotta work on this so it doesn't keep happening type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And again, not to say that this was a good thing or that this should have happened, but that hopefully that at least from it people can look back and be like, how can we make sure that people aren't getting to this point anymore type thing.
Yeah.
On the note of silver linings, feels so weird exiting out of this conversation. What's one thing we're all looking forward to this Christmas?
Wow.
And then we can get out of here.
Because remember, everybody, this is your Christmas.
This is your Christmas episode.
The fucking Superman and economics.
Yeah.
What am I looking forward to this Christmas specifically?
I mentioned it. I'm looking forward to being in my fucking plaid pajama pants and eating cookies and watching movies.
Mm.
I'm looking forward to being inside and looking out the window and there's snow falling. I hope for a white Christmas. There's snow right now. Oh my god.
Oh, God.
There you go. Yeah, I can't wait for that. I'm inside hanging out with you guys or whatever, and we're watching a movie or something. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Mm-hmm.
I want that break. I want that like chill, fun time where it's just only positivity and like happiness and laughs and whatever. And
Yeah.
that's what I'm looking forward to. And opening gifts with my family, of course.
Anything else?
No,
I'm looking forward to December 24th, which Mark knows this. You're invited to come like last year. Did you come last year? Did you come last year?
it was just me and Malcolm, I think.
Oh. You do stuff on the 24th with your
Yeah,
family.
I can't.
Yeah. Well, if you have time, you want to come, you can come. The 24th is just a day where a lot of my family friends come over. I guess you guys, we're making a tradition. You guys come over too, I guess. And yeah, we just play games. We eat good food. There's a Secret Santa.
Mhm.
Just all around good family
Yeah, I'll be there.
times.
My dad works 24th and 25th, so
Yeah.
by the time he gets home, it'll be like 11, 12 or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go home to open presents with them like really late, but
True.
I'll chill with you guys for the evening/night.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to, at first I was going to say like not much, honestly, but actually the more I think about it and sit here, I'm looking forward to sort of like, I was going to make a joke and say getting shit-faced because Christmas Eve probably definitely getting plastered.
Yeah.
But no, because I don't really have like a big family.
Mm.
Like I have, aunts and uncles and shit, but like not necessarily like a big, blood or like core whatever family. But this year we're doing more, or we're like getting bigger things, let's say. Like I think this upcoming weekend there's some big Portuguese midnight.
Wow.
There's some big Portuguese
That's crazy.
dish or whatever called cozido, which is like a bunch of pork and like meat and shit and whatever that we do every once in
The
a while.
big pig.
Not the big cooked one, which fuck, we still got to do that at some point.
Mm.
And like my aunt's coming from New York this weekend, so she'll be here for that. My grandmother will be here for that, and like Dean and Wendy, my neighbors, are coming over for that. And then Christmas Eve, it'll be me and my parents and my brother, aunt and grandmother again. But my cousin and his parents, so my other aunt and uncle on my dad's side and his girlfriend, they're all coming over for Christmas Eve, which they've like never done. Like we don't ever really usually see them on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. So they're all coming for Christmas Eve dinner and whatever, and like Varsh will be there and everything.
Oh, that's fun.
And then Christmas Day will be more just kind of like us. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm kind of looking forward to more
Worlds colliding.
like not so much that, but more just like kind of more
big
of like a
family Christmas.
family gathering of sorts.
Okay.
Because like usually Christmas is just
Yeah.
my parents, Michael, my grandmother, my aunt. Like
Dude,
it's usually just the
Yeah.
six of us kind of thing. But
Yeah.
to have like
Dude, I wish
a bit of a bigger thing, like I'm kind of looking forward to that.
That's what in the last few years Patrick's thing has been my thing too, because for me it's like again my dad's working. I spend some time with them when he finally gets home, but it's just me, my dad, my brother, and my mom, And then at the very most, sometimes our we celebrate on the 7th as like the Orthodox Christmas or whatever.
Yeah.
But we do stuff on the 24th and 25th. For me, it's like at the very most, my aunt and uncle and my 2 cousins will come over, and then just my parents and my brother. So it's like a very small thing. I wish I had like a big family thing, and that's why I like coming to Patrick's thing, because it feels like we're all hanging out and having a good time and stuff. But yeah, I could see why you'd be excited for that. It's like a fun big family Christmas type thing.
Yeah, it'll just be a little bigger and a little different than like it usually is.
Mixing it up.
It almost. That's a whole other thing. I won't get into it, but we've been going too long. So yeah, I'm looking forward.
Way longer than I ever dreamed
to
it
that,
would go
right?
tonight.
Yeah, I know.
Way
right?
longer than I ever dreamed it would be tonight.
Well,
oh my God.
I guess we'll skedaddle out of here. Fuck you guys. I'm not even gonna ask if there's anything you want to get off your chest. Okay, fine. Is there anything you want to get off your chest?
No.
Superman, I have such high hopes. It looks good.
gonna be
Please
amazing.
be good. James Gunn, don't let me down.
It's gonna be
My
good.
life rides on this. I will swallow a gun barrel if it's bad. I cannot handle more bad DC stuff. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, there's your episode. I think this is 91. Finally adequate. Long one. It's been a while since we've had one go this long. And if I might do say so, perhaps, mayhaps, may chance myself, I think this was a very good one. Fun nerd talk in the beginning. Interesting political.
I almost wish we could have talked about
discourse.
more different topics, but we were I think it was a fun conversation. I think it was interesting.
In depth.
Yeah.
I had
Although
a ball.
I feel like sometimes with those with those political conversations, I feel like I'm a little bit out of it, a tiny bit. I want to be more involved in it, but I feel like I don't have that much to say. But that being said, I like hearing it, and I like talking about my general thoughts. So I think at the very least, even for people who don't like politics, like they might listen to it and I don't know, learn a new perspective or gain a new opinion or something. So
Or
Yeah.
see how ignorant Patrick Veeam is.
I like talking shop on it every once in a while just because this is shit I walk around all day thinking
Sure.
about in addition to all the fucking nonsense I walk around thinking about. So it's fun for me to kind of get to just get it out there
This
and
episode was kind of like
sharpen that iron sometimes.
This episode was kind of like what I always wanted, in a sense of like, I like talking about current events, you know what I mean? And yeah.
You want to be the
That's
Keemstar of our show.
yeah, I don't think he knows who Keemstar is.
I don't know what that
He
is.
just talks. He's like an idiot who talks about like not actual real world news, but he'll talk about like such and such
YouTube
streamer like
controversy,
broke
yeah.
up or whatever.
Oh God, please
Yeah.
not that.
Not that. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, did you think it was a good one? Let us know down below. Do that. Anyways, thank you. I guess this was your Christmas episode, so
Merry
this will come out.
Christmas.
Merry
20
Christmas.
This will come out the 21st, but it's good enough. Merry Christmas, happy holidays. Have a good one, and we love you.
Bye.